And we're live.
I forgot I had a cough button, so nobody has to hear it.
I noticed Ben Witness does that too on his Lawfare podcast. He says,
What?
And we're live. He does it.
Oh,
We're live
do you
too.
watch their live ones?
Sometimes, yeah.
Are you a material supporter of Lawfare?
I am not, but you can still watch it on YouTube.
Oh.
You just can't
be there live and ask questions.
Yeah, you can't ask questions, I don't think. Yeah.
Can you watch it live? Like, can you participate? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, not every podcast, but the Trials and Tribulations one, the Trump one, they usually do live. And I think there's maybe one other they do live during the week, maybe Rational Security.
I don't like Rational Security. I don't think that they're as funny as they think they are.
You're probably right about that.
A bunch of nerds, I guess that's pretty good. That's
yeah.
Funny for a bunch of fucking lawyers.
I like watching Quinta and Anna, though. They're great.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Pass that on. Are we being sexist?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I was hoping you were being sexist.
Sure, we can go that late if you want.
They sound like I want to see them.
You do want to see at least one of them for sure. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right. What's this? Oh, okay. I have an opening sound. Let me get it queued up.
Okay.
I have Norm in the show, so let's not open with Norm. I have one about there's a cure for Frenchness.
Frenchness. Oh, yeah. The French. Okay.
The French. Where is that? Oh,
sneeze fart combo.
That's not it, but
it's definitely not it.
That's close enough. So I have a cure for Frenchness ready. I should probably get this ready to present. Boom, bing, bong, boom. But first, I will we'll have some fun with me asking you what is going on here. Let me get this out of the way. I don't want to look at that there. Okay, too many things happening. Okay, I have an opening sound for you. It's a cure for Frenchness. But before that, let's keep it foreign. Did you knows? Can you open up a Google Translate window for me?
Yeah.
For you, really. I know what this is going to be.
Got it.
Okay, so I would like set the language. I want it to go from English to Norwegian.
Okay.
Listeners at home, try this at home. I'll give you time. All right, so you ready?
Hold on, gotta find.
It starts with an N.
Yes, I know. Okay, I got it.
All right. In the English field, go ahead and type in computer science and then read to me what it is in Norwegian.
Informatic.
Shut the fuck up. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I got. That's
What'd you get?
Computer fag.
Fagatoga.
Yeah. Can you switch it and type in computer
Fagatoga?
Just the first three letters of that word. And
in Norwegian?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a fucking dud of an opener.
Computer subjects?
Huh. Oh, they're being sleazy. Somebody found out about this and they're like, we can't have that. Americans are having too much fun with this. Damn it. Computer subjects. Yeah. Right.
Computer is data masking. And then if you add science, it's informatic with 2 Ks.
This is more fun.
Google screwed us.
Yeah.
God damn it, Google.
Yeah, well, we're starting with a cure for Frenchness then.
Did you know that if a French person had sleep apnea surgery, they'd never be able to speak French again because you need your uvula in order to say the French R sound, and they wouldn't have your uvula?
You're telling me we can cure those poor people?
Y'all let me in this damn house.
Should we hit record?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. All right, you ready?
I am ready. Are you recording?
Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken. the internet's only debate and current events show with your hosts, Dustin and Al. Two political nomads from two different worlds. Shout out to Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band for the use of their song Ways and Means for intro music. Thank you for joining us. Time of this recording, it is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. It's a great day for America. We are two coastal elites coming to you from the shores of the mighty Cumberland in Madison, Tennessee, all the way to the Pacific waters of El Cerrito, California. Here to recap another week, current events, and sharing way too much of our tragic personal lives. And we're taking a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers. Please subscribe right now wherever you're listening to this. How did you find this and not subscribe? Come on now. Tell all your friends about us. That's the stage we're on with this. And if you're new here, thank your friend for me. That's for me. Say, Dustin said thanks. I'll be like, what? I'm like, yeah, I was talking to Dustin. He said thanks. And you can message me. I'll talk to you unless you're weird. I mean, I'm kind of
Well,
cool.
especially if you're weird.
Especially if you're weird, I'll probably talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it seems to be all surrounding. There's this local guy that's like, I should come on your show. I'd be your highest rated show ever. Meanwhile, has nothing but like bad faith arguments and misinterprets my stance on everything. I'm like, how do you even like what we do here? Like, I was talking to Kitbag today. I was like, do you really think that there's a lane for us to make like actual living off of nuance and like shattering culture war echo chambers and things like that? Like, do you really? He's like, he sent me a thing where he's like, this guy put himself through college by eating mayonnaise on YouTube. Yes. Kitbag is like the weirdest inspiration. Like it's the weirdest form of inspiration that makes me ready to like run through a fucking wall, man.
Hell yeah.
Oh, you know what? Shout out to him. Foxhole Co. Foxhole.co. That's the new outfit that Cody is doing. Did I say Kitbag a bunch of times?
You did.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, Kitbag's probably RIP. Matt's done a couple of posts, not shitting on him, but the content is not coming out the way things were when Cody and him were doing that together. But yeah, Cody's got a new outfit, foxhole.co. He'll be on here 2 weeks from now. Next week? Oh, shit. Next week. Next Friday's show is going to be him and Julian Anthro.
Right. About Ukraine.
Discussion. I like to think of them as the angels of each side, angels and demons or whatever it is.
Right.
It's like Julian makes me feel optimistic about Ukraine. Cody is just like, look, here's the reality. Like, Ukraine's losing and Americans are going to die. Like, fuck. Okay. Anyways, where were we? You can head over to fungibledonetakens.com to get our merch. And there's a couple other sites that Alan would like to tell you about.
Absolutely. Trumpyags.com for our Patreon. You can get our sexy unedited video over there. Also,
it's this video where we're sexy. We don't have a different sexy video.
No,
it's videos for every episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
The full episode
Sexy
unedited.
videos from another time.
That's when we started OnlyFans. We got to work on that. Also, support the people that support us. SlickItsDigital.com. Slick It's Digital for all your SEO and marketing needs. What is up, everybody?
Hell yeah.
Welcome to the show. Hope y'all are having a great week. I had a really nice weekend. Yeah, I hung out with Craig on Saturday. The weather here it's been raining and windy nonstop, dude. The weekend, the wind was so heavy on.
How heavy was it?
Friday and Saturday, or Friday night into Saturday morning, I was like, God damn, it's gonna blow that house down.
Like Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah, like that kind of shit.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw any of the videos and stuff like in Tahoe, Donner Pass, but actually absolutely getting dumped on. And
somebody get those people food.
I think they did.
You got to get people food when they're in Donner Pass.
Got to get people food.
Yeah.
This is true. This has historically been a problem.
Yes.
And they had,
all joking aside, were there a bunch of dead people because like a lot of people had no power? There was like 5 to 12 feet of snow.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any fatalities or casualties. Okay. But that's
kind of a miracle, right?
It kind of is. Yeah, they were saying winds at like up to 150 miles an hour, and
that's a blizzard. That's
crazy.
A fucking hurricane, dog.
Yeah, that's insane. I know they shut down Yosemite for the weekend, like 3 days.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I've been there when they shut it down and I couldn't leave.
Really?
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I imagine that would be.
I mean, I was there for cold weather, so I was like, well, I'm not gonna die like this.
So, anyways, I digress. I went to Craig's on Saturday. We hung out. We didn't even go out. We just we made dinner there. His daughter was there. We hung out. she assembled a Lego kit, and we played Madden and watched some YouTube and hung out. So it was just a super chill Saturday. I crashed at his place Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I came home, and then I met up with Tim and the fam a little bit later in the afternoon on Sunday. We had a really good time. They went up to Lawrence Hall of Science in the morning.
You sent that picture from the view, right?
Yeah. Oh God. So once the rain cleared, it was gorgeous. Like everything is green.
Yeah, the sky
is beautiful.
Smog in it at all.
Yeah, although it did begin to rain again. Actually, we were out in where were we? We were in Oakland. We were at
Berkeley Marina.
No, we were at Ghost Town Brewing. We were at Ghost Town Brewing. And we were outside. That's mostly what they had. They don't really have an indoor seating area there. And they had all these umbrellas, which is normally like for sun, but it's actually worked pretty well against the rain as well. It started coming down pretty good while we were there. But yeah, man, it's a really nice time. Really had a good weekend. Got to, recharge and chill for a bit. So.
Best I can give that weekend is a B+.
I mean, we did a run to Target with Craig,
You didn't see Dune.
I did not see Dune.
Oh, yeah.
It's on my list. Awesome. It's on my list. I'll get it done this week.
Yeah. We saw Dune 2,
yes.
Dune 2, The Legend of Curly's Dune 2, The Lost World. That's close, actually.
Close enough. Okay.
Pretty accurate, actually. So we saw Dune 2 in IMAX 70 millimeter. There's like 10 screens where they're doing that in, and one of them's like, so that's the crow flies like 4 miles from here.
Was it worth it, you think, the IMAX?
Oh yeah. You got to have one in the Bay Area.
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably sold out through the run though. Like I have a friend who has like really strong and compulsive OCD, and he is a big film buff, and he immediately sends me images of his tickets as soon as he buys any ticket. So like if it's anything I want to see, that's my sign to hurry up and fucking buy.
Better. Yeah, get on.
He's first, and then I was sad. There was like 3 tickets sold by the time I got ours. Like it was I don't know why people bought the tickets they bought. I bought the best 2 seats in the theater. It was awesome. Enough bragging about weird shit.
How do we ever go to theaters without select seating? Like that
Dude,
was
I know, right?
just a thing. You just show up.
Remember stressing? Like you have to hurry up and get. What if there aren't 2 seats next to each other?
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, so like we just showed up. I went and got popcorn, got there, went to the bathroom. Didn't have to like one of you goes and gets the seat while the other gets the condiments.
Right.
Yeah. So there was something weird that happened in the popcorn line though. So the theater opened at like 10:30 for an 11 o'clock show. Mm-hmm. Nothing else was starting at 11. They don't have other movies at fucking 11. Okay. And so everybody there's there for Dune. And I wanted to get the popcorn bucket with the fleshlight on top. Turns out that's only at AMC, but I still want the commemorative bucket and cup, So
you got a hole in the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. You still fuck it, Alan. Plus, you don't want to fuck the popcorn bucket. You'd rather fuck the cup, right? Like it's a little bit,
yes.
diameter. So Natasha is using the restroom, I think, and she's going to meet me back in line. I place the order and I say like, hey, I gestured towards the commemorative cup, the thing bucket. And I was like, oh, I'll get a large Mountain Dew and a large popcorn. Can you like put the butter throughout? Can you layer the butter? And he's like, doesn't really say anything, but he's not like outwardly like rude, but he's just like odd. I'm like, okay. And I don't notice it, but he picks up a large cup and starts filling it. Natasha gets there like 10 seconds later. She's like, oh, that's the regular cup. Like if they have a large cup, but then you have to ask specially
for the souvenir cup.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, it's 10:30 and we're all here for the only movie that's coming out at this time. Right. My bad. So I politely say like, oh, my bad. Sorry. I pointed over there. I meant the Dune cup and bucket. Like, this is not a big deal. The fucking attitude from this guy. Like really? You could hear the eye roll and he sighed. And at the time I asked him, he had just put his hand on the upside down stack of buckets to go put popcorn in it. He didn't even pick it up, but I could see like where he had pinched it to pick it up. Like he'd made contact and that's it. And then he's like holding on to it and he's like, you have to get those. Those are, and he says the price. I'm like, you think I fucking care about the price?
Right.
Like, it's movie popcorn. This is bullshit pricing anyways. Right. I'm asking for the special stuff.
I'm expecting to pay $30 for that bucket of
popcorn. Extra. Yeah,
I
get it.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm going to do a horrible job trying to summarize what happened because the issue is he did something so like indescribable that It was so odd. It was so odd to have you ever had somebody do something that you're like, I don't even know how to say what you're doing is so rude. It's just so off.
Yeah.
So he like huffs and puffs about that, even though all I said was, "Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to get this one that I'd gladly pay you for."
Right.
For like the job you're doing. Like I'm not
Right,
asking, And so then he goes and gets that and he scoops up the popcorn and he just puts butter up on top. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not even fucking dealing with this
Yeah.
guy. Like, whatever,
He didn't
Uh,
layer it like you're supposed
Yeah,
to.
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I'm already like, I'm like hoping to de-escalate this. So I'm like, he walks back. I'm like, hey man, like, can you tell me what I did? Like, I don't know what I did to upset you. Like, I'm sorry I didn't order the right thing. Stonewalls me. Like fucking Donnie or the fucking kid from the Big Lebowski. Like,
Just nothing.
yeah. Like the little Lebowski, whatever his fucking name is. What is his name? Oh, what is it? Whatever. Just fucking stonewalls me. And I'm like, why are you acting like this? And he's just like typing things into the computer to like get it all ready to ring up. I'm like, hey man, like I'm a normal human being.
Right.
Like I was never rude to you, but if I was, I'd like you to tell me why. I don't understand. Like, what is going on here?
Right,
and I
right.
am like more and more confused by this, but I'm never rude about this.
Mhm.
And then he goes and he grabs the large regular cup of Mountain Dew and he grabs the Dune cup and he's ready to transfer it into it.
Right.
And
Dump it in.
I'm like, don't do that. And no, I was like, hey, no. And he's like, he doesn't even fucking say anything. He just looks at me with this like sassy fucking, I have pink hair
God.
look. And I'm like, what? You can't, don't do that. And he's like, why? I'm like, because it's going to lose all its carbonation by the time you toss it in there. It's a 3-hour movie. It's going to be flat already, just like by nature.
Right.
Like, this is the 10-cent part of this operation. You're already wasting the cup. That's the expensive part. Like,
Right.
And I didn't say any of that. All I said was, it's just going to become more flat. Please don't do that. I was fucking polite. He just fucking stonewalls me about it. I couldn't stop talking about it. We go and get our seats, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I don't know what I did. Like, I genuinely wanted not to be a Karen. I wanted to ask his manager to tell him, I don't know tell him the guy in the baby blue pink, in the baby blue hoodie says he's sorry. He doesn't know what he did to upset you. I didn't mean to upset you. And Natasha's like, he's going to get in trouble for that. I'm like, part of me wants to say good, but you're right. Like, it was so upsetting. I could not fucking let go of it. I was like fully latched on mentally about it. I could not let go. To this day, I don't understand.
I can hear it in your voice. I can tell you're still.
Look, there was some tension between me and Natasha about this because she's like, I just need you to let this go. I'm like, I want to let it go. I just need to understand. Like, I could let it go if it made any sense to me, I could let it go. All I can think is this, and I hate to be this. I sound like a fucking boomer. I'm not saying all kids these days, but I think that like the pandemic, this guy was probably 18, 19. So he learned his social skills in the middle of the pandemic. I just think that people have learned me asking him to explain to me what his reasoning is for being upset with me is considered confrontational.
Right.
Tell me how that makes any fucking sense. Like, right. I'm not asking you to justify it. Just tell me what it is so that I can apologize properly.
Yeah. And I mean, so the correct thing to do if you're in that situation as the person behind the counter is just say, look, man, I'm just having a bad day. I'm sorry.
I was totally fine with that.
That would have been fine.
I was like, it's early and you work in a movie theater and it's Saturday morning or Sunday morning. So like maybe you had a Saturday night. Just like, I'm not going to have like,
yeah, it's, you know what? So I have not exactly the same story, but so I was at the grocery store the other day and there was an older lady in front of me checking out and the cashier starts ringing up her stuff. The cashier isn't very friendly to her. Like, I don't think she even said hello. Maybe they had some history. I don't know. Maybe she shops there often. But it looks
like maybe you had like part of you understanding this is assuming that maybe they did.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of tension just as the transaction began. And the lady, the customer says, I don't have any bags. Just kind of like that. Just
can
like,
you not have bags anymore in California? No, I'm not joking.
No, you can buy bags.
I thought you couldn't anymore.
No, you can buy plastic bags for 10 cents.
Can. Okay.
Or you can bring your own.
Okay.
So she just says, I don't have any bags. And the cashier looks at her kind of quizzically and she goes, what does that mean?
Means sell me bags.
Right. And she goes, do
didn't mean to say that.
She goes, do you want to buy bags? And she's like, well, I don't have any. She's like, so
like we have two options. I put all this back in the cart for you, or
Right.
like I sell you bags. Which would you prefer? Don't just leave it open ended for the customer.
right.
You're
The customer
selling
wouldn't
bags and merchandise.
the customer wouldn't specify. She couldn't bring herself to say, yes, I want to buy bags. She was just like, well, I don't have
Oh
any.
yeah,
so
you can't say that.
you figure it out.
Yeah.
And so the cashier just gets on the intercom and pages the manager over and just leaves. So the manager rings the lady up, bags her stuff for her, and I look over. I'm like, where'd the cashier go? And she went over to self-checkout just to hang out over there while the manager rang
people's IDs and shit.
Right? Yeah. No, you can't even check out. You can't even buy alcohol in the self-checkout here. But anyways,
yeah.
So,
Dude, I gotta ask you. Oh, go ahead.
So manager finishes ringing up the lady, and then he leaves. So I'm standing there next, and there's no cashier. So like a minute or two later, the lady comes back. The first cashier comes back, does not say a word to me. And I go, I'd like a bag, please. Like I'm trying to be as polite as possible.
Right?
I know how this
I watched
works.
the last person cross this toll bridge. I know what to do.
She doesn't say a single word to me. She finishes my transaction. She charges me for the bag, but doesn't put any of my stuff in the bag.
What?
And I'm like, okay. So she like hands me our receipt, and I'm like, okay. So I grab the bag and I start putting my stuff in, and she just kind of looks at me, and then I leave. It was such a weird thing, dude.
So I gotta ask you this: like, nobody knows where you used to work at.
Right.
Alan's on fun employment right now. But like, I think it's fine saying that you manage retail.
Sure. Yes.
I know that it's gotten harder and harder to get people that want to do these jobs. I get that.
Yeah.
Is this representative of what you've seen in your line of work in general? Or I know that both of these are outlier examples regardless, but
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, is this more towards the trend though?
Well, so
we went to Starbucks and they're like, we're out of cold brew. And no. Natasha was like, excuse me, are you out of cold brew? And the lady had headphones in and goes sideways, says, yeah. And Natasha's like, what? She's like, and then she still doesn't look. She just goes, yeah. Never made eye contact. Never like just. I don't expect people to like bend over backwards, but like these are customer facing positions.
Yeah.
Don't be autistic in the back room. It's fine. We have room for everybody. But like,
I would definitely say there is more of a trend leaning towards this. Although, what was interesting about my situation was both of the people involved, the cashier and the customer in front of me, were both, I would guess, over 60 years old. Maybe the customer might even have been like,
the cashier. I was imagining a young cashier.
No, it's an older lady. Like,
you know what? Well, people don't give a shit about dick. That's
I suppose.
Like,
but there are. I've definitely encountered people in the younger generation who just seem sort of incapable of maintaining eye contact or even like simple, what we normally would call simple human interactions. They can't do it. They just don't have that capacity for whatever reason. It's strange. It's strange.
You're not saying all. You're just saying as someone who's hired that demographic for the last 20 years, you've seen a spike, a rise in that.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, when we were leaving the mall, there was this like, I don't know, my age woman pushing a wheelchair out the door, and this like boomer ass creep with like a Bluetooth headset on, still like, fucking 2008,
like Plantronics shit.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Not even a name brand one. Yeah,
right.
Or Plantronics one. He's walking in as she's walking out, and I didn't hear what he said at first, but he was basically like, can you give me a ride? And he's like, I don't even need help going up and down. And I was just like,
what?
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Maybe we were just like the only good generation. That's probably it.
That's probably it. That's it.
Before us has ever said anything like that. All right. It's the end of civilization. You heard it here first on
Right.
Original thought that nobody's ever made. All right. Yeah. Enough about that. Let's play. We only have a couple of comedy clips. This one, who sent this one? This is from Thrash. He's been on the show before. Chris Porter. He actually said he would come on the show. I messaged him. We should work that out. Anyways, here we go.
I like him.
Yeah. Oh, wrong screen.
Enough of us on this planet, or we can start thinning the herd a little bit. not saying we should hunt the stupid. I'm saying let's let them kill themselves. Let's take some warnings off some shit. Take do not eat off paint. Eat it. You want to eat it? Eat it. Feed it to your dumbass kids, too. We don't want them either. Have yourselves a Sherman Williams Christmas. There are enough of us on this planet.
His old Bushy doing his laugh. Old Bushy.
Old Bushy.
We got one sent in by Nameless. This is a Canaan bit that I heard him working out while I saw him in like 2001. I think this is from his newest. I think it's his newest special. Anyways, here we go. Kyle Canaan.
I think that the last 8 years in this country has really ruined the president's been kidnapped genre of action movie. I will say that it has deflated my enthusiasm. Man, that was a fun movie 10 years ago. That was fun. Oh, you'd go right to the cinema on Friday. The president's been kidnapped. Oh no, who's gonna save him? Channing Tatum? I hope his shirt doesn't come off. We were excited for those. You can't make that movie now. That movie does not have the steam it once held. The president's been kidnapped. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not good out there. People aren't happy, man. Inflation's out of control. I think that the last 8
I did the Kamala laugh because it's president related.
Yeah, I like it. I love Canaan, man.
Yeah,
You guys are awesome. Yeah.
You know, when I granted it was in the shadow of 9/11, but when there was an episode of 24 where the president's planes crashed or something, and I was just like, they fucking killed our president, man. Like, I can't believe it hit you in the heartstrings. 2003, man, that was no joke, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
How far we've come.
very much a joke now. Well, that's it for that segment.
Oh, how about that?
Starts now. With a little light on the comedy clips the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's a trend. I guess 3 weeks would make it a trend. But maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. Maybe there's less stand-up, or maybe I've been ignoring the submissions. And
Maybe it's a slow stand-up season. You know?
Yeah, slow stand-up season. Well, Adam Burke has a new stand-up special. I think we both talked about watching that.
Yes, we definitely will.
Okay, here is Joke Swap. Joke Swap is back. This time Jost made Michael Che say it.
Wednesday was National Coffee with a Cop Day. And something tells me cops like their coffee black with a couple of shots in it.
I've noticed the calendar they used in that joke was from October, so I guess I missed that. Sorry, I don't watch Saturday Night Live. There's this, I keep seeing people talking about someone named, I think it's Sydney Sweeney. Sorry, let me say it the way I pronounce it whenever I read it. Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, okay.
There's a card place. I saw a license plate frame the other day that said Jack Weenie Express. Jack Sweeney's Express. And I was like, Jack's Weenie Express. .com, jacksweeneyexpress.com. Not a show title. We're moving on. That's Joke Swap. This is a rejected comedy segment. The Mima sent this in. These are rejected jokes for the comedy segment.
Praying mantis walks in the bar, and the bartender's like, I'm sorry, we don't serve insects. The praying mantis is like, it's fine, I'll just take a beer. And the bartender slides her the beer, and the praying mantis is like, this is way too much hemp. And the bartender's like, you're right, I guess I just got distracted by your beauty. It's on the house. And the praying mantis is like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone off and just chewed your head off like that. Bartender's like, it's cool, you know, I've never met a praying mantis before. And the praying mantis is like, I don't do much praying these days, but I still get on my knees, if you know what I mean. And the bartender's like, that's very forward, but my shift does end in 5 minutes. And the praying mantis is like, I'm all ears. Literally, I have ears all over my body, even in between my legs. And the bartender's like, well, I hope it's not the only thing you have there. And the bartender and the praying mantis have adult relations, and, you know, they're laying there smoking little bug cigarettes. And the bartender's like, I guess you're gonna bite my head off any moment now. And the praying mantis is like, oh no, only the females do that. And the bartender's like, wait, you're a boy praying mantis? And the praying mantis is like, yeah, I'm gay. I thought you knew that. Why else do you think my hands go like?
Oh my God, that's so far to go for that. Oh, music was too loud. Also,
that too. I've seen other jokes from that same account. She's usually
explain
pretty
what
funny.
she does to the listeners that aren't viewers.
Okay, so she's talking, and as she's delivering the joke, the camera switches to her dog, who's like a little chihuahua who's just sitting there looking at her quizzically. And so it's like the dog's the person she's telling the joke to.
And the dog is like acting the way you were and we were hearing it, just
deadpan. Yeah.
More and more upset by things, and it escalates, and the dog runs away, and things happen.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we've got a streak going. We got to keep our Norm segment going. This is Norm as a guest on Conan. Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Midgets? Yeah, little people.
They start off with midgets. Oh no. So he's here.
Midgets? Yeah, little people, I call them.
Well, I don't think of people as little people.
Yeah, your word's better.
Yeah.
Go ahead anyway. You meet a couple of midgets.
I know a lot of people in show business talk about the little people.
Right.
But I think everybody's the same. The midgets, the regular people.
Okay.
You know? We're all human beings.
We're all human beings. That's good. That's good. You have a good attitude.
Some of us are, short and have weird big heads. So, anyway, these guys.
Midget?
Oh, okay.
That's I mean, his ability to be funny without even any effort apparently involved is just incredible.
Yeah, or at least the appearance of it, right? Because he worked on that. He's like thinking about it. He's like, oh yeah, well, people say little people. It's like, well, in Hollywood they call people little people. That in itself, me and you would never make it that funny, right?
No.
Like and it didn't, like I yes, it's easier for him than any of us, but like it's still like the beauty of it is how simple he makes it look. Knowing he's like, yeah, I'll work this out a little bit before I do on Nor. You know, I told you I listened to Joe Rogan like one episode the first time, and like since his Spotify deal.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
told all the same stories. Like for some reason they talked about Norm Macdonald, and he told that story about how he shared a flight with Norm Macdonald, and the whole flight Norm's telling him he quit smoking. And then like the first thing he does when he gets off the plane is buy a pack of cigarettes. It's like, it's a fun story. And I'd probably tell it every time Norm Macdonald came up in my life, but like, I haven't listened to your show in 4 years.
Yeah. And you're doing the same shtick.
Yeah. Thrash sent this in. This is, there's this great account where this lady does Appalachia stories about like, either words that honestly so she does this thing where it's like words people say in Appalachia they don't say elsewhere, and they're all words that I feel very familiar with. I think you know too. But this was a good one. This is sort of like some lifestyle stuff that's different out there. So here we go.
A bathtub cup is a very versatile cup. Once you put it on the edge of your bathtub, it's going to be there for years or forever until it gets a big crack down the middle of it and it can't hold any more water. I personally use it to wash the tub out after I take a shower because I don't want the excess shampoo to make somebody slip and fall. You can use it to wash your dog, your hair, your kid's hair. You can use it to trap a spider in the bathroom. You can use it to wash the sink out. There's so many uses you can have for your bathtub cup. But just don't drink out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's been in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Of course.
How about that indeed?
Isn't that great advice? And who says America doesn't have rich cultural history? You know?
I pictured the red Solo cup for some reason being
no. It's like a local restaurant or something.
Okay.
And it's not even like a giveaway cup. It's just like is it fucking I'm blanking on it. It's there's a burger chain out here. It's something you get from a burger chain, and they happen to give you a hard plastic cup, but it's just thick enough that you're like, I'll keep it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You could use your Dune cup.
Not for the bathtub, Alan, because then I can't drink out of it.
True.
Yeah, that's my mega pint. That's like hangover cure. Just fill the Dune cup up with water and drink out of it. Could drink out of this bucket. That would probably kill me.
Let's not do any water challenges.
Yeah, we don't know. I think that radio show taught us all much. Alan and I are old. Oh, well, spoiled that one. There's Alan and I are old enough to remember there was a radio station in I think it was, I don't know where it was. They had a contest. It was hold your Wii for a Wii when the Nintendo Wii was new.
Yeah.
And people died from drinking too much water and not peeing. Okay.
Didn't know that you could actually kill yourself.
Didn't know I couldn't do that.
Right.
What is this clip, Alan? What's it? This is about ink cartridges.
Ink cartridges, yes.
I'm looking for a colored ink cartridge. You mean a black ink cartridge? No, I already have a black ink cartridge. I'm looking for
Go on, say it.
Colored ink cartridge.
Unbelievable. In this day and age.
What?
You know, even my grandmother doesn't use that backward term, and she's 95.
Okay then.
So what is it you're looking for?
Black ink cartridge?
Yeah, you are. They're in the basket.
I had a look at the computer. It's gonna need a new parent board.
Okay.
Parent board.
Keep saying the Wi-Fi adapter is disabled.
Ooh, that's strange. It should be saying the Wi-Fi adapter has a disability.
Yeah, no. I'll keep working on it.
Okay. Yeah, just pick the one that matches your printer model.
It doesn't say which is which.
We don't believe in labeling.
I can't tell them apart.
Oh.
How about that?
We're all the same. That's actually kind of funny. Yeah, which is weird because I think you're supposed to say that now, right? Like, aren't people of color? Isn't that what you're supposed to say now?
Oh, but you say people of color, not colored people.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still
different.
bad.
Yeah, that's different.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate that. Okay, there's a couple of sounds here. This is sort of like a palate cleanser. I don't think we quite need one yet, but it's a good one. So there's two sounds in a row. The first sound is a man. He's the new owner of a bird.
Okay.
And he's jumping on and smashing the cage that the bird used to live in because he's going to have him live without a cage.
Oh, nice.
The next sound is the parrot motherfucking the cage.
These cages should be in production, right? We made this cage.
Oh, how about that?
Ah, great. Now we're going to have to make sure this is labeled as not for children.
I'm going to go buy a parrot. I'll be right back.
That's slang or cuss words or whatever.
That's awesome.
I mentioned old Bushy earlier. Here's an old Bushy clip. Remember this guy?
Oh yeah, 43.
We've been back to Texas since our trip to Africa, and you may recall we went through a park in Botswana.
Why does he have to hit the last three words like that? Can I play it again?
Yeah, do it.
It's the first time we've been back to Texas since our trip to Africa, and you may recall we went through a park in Botswana.
Was it like? I mean, it's like the way. Oh, hold on.
Oh,
it's like the way people that like can't speak a language but are talking to someone that speaks a different language just raise their voice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was all English. Like I don't understand what was happening there. Park in Botswana.
Like you say it more slowly and louder. Like,
yeah.
Park in Botswana.
It's like the whole thing was in caps in the teleprompter.
Right.
John Ziegler, he did his podcast. Well, he did an episode with us where we talked about the Penn State. Anybody who's a new listener, there's a guy named John Ziegler who has made a compelling case that Jeffrey Sandusky, while a creep, and you should judge him for it, probably didn't molest any kids. Hopefully, right? Like also it feels better to live in that reality. But anyways, we had him on the show to talk about that. He started a podcast called The Death of Journalism that was just a bunch of bad takes on the news, but I liked listening to it because it was, it was a lot of, he'd make some good takes too. And it was nice to sort of hear what appeals to a certain demographic.
Sure.
I listen to 13 Hours of Podcast today, so you don't have to. Well, anyways, he ended the show. It's all going paywall now because I don't know. I guess he didn't invest wisely. He's also been a country club member until the pandemic or like recently. So I'm not going to feel bad for anybody to be like, I can't make any money anymore. It's like, well, probably didn't have to spend tens of $1,000s a month to be in a private club. But that's enough judgment. So, well, you know what? He brings it on himself. Here's his, how does this? This is just Rest in Peace, the End of Journalism podcast. That's all I named this.
Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones situation. But then when 9/11 happened, I have to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised.
So, Rest in Peace, Death of Journalism podcast.
Wow. Okay.
I think he was talking in the context of he thought that like American like patriotism was dying and like people that loved this country. His big thing was like he loves this country and we're ran by people that don't love this country anymore. So then his next subject was that the election of Barack Obama. So he went from 9/11 to the election of Barack Obama, and here's how that sounds.
But that was nothing compared to the 2008 election and how the media systematically elected Barack Obama, a guy who had no qualifications or almost no qualifications for the job as president, simply because they liked the color of his skin.
So Rest in Peace, Death of Journalism podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest
Good
in
luck with
peace,
your
indeed.
paywall, buddy.
Jeez.
Good luck with your paywall. Thrash sent this in. This is an interesting. This is like, it looks like a 60 Minutes or one of those like news magazine TV shows where they have a reporter there and somebody talking about how you can they're analyzing voice patterns and trying to detect if someone's gay or not.
They also studied the way gay and straight people talk.
Hi, nice to meet you. I ride a motorcycle.
Sounds straight to me.
And is straight.
Hi, nice to meet you. I ride an electric motorbike.
Gay.
Oh, how about that?
I don't know if that's real or not. Thanks, Thrash. It's okay. Thrash sent it.
It's fine,
This is last week I had that like, we're Asians, so of course we get straight A's. We're Asians,
Oh, yes.
I'm not going to say the rest of that one. This is one I saw. This is I hated these when they were new, but I like the ones that I think are kind of making fun of the category of the meme. So this is We're Married.
Married. Of course he drinks my milk more than the baby.
I'm Jay. I like to pee on her in the shower.
That is not.
Does he mean like while he's in the shower with her, or like if he's peeing while she's in the shower?
Unclear based on
It is
that.
unclear. Yeah, it's hard to. What's your gut tell you?
I'm gonna guess he's standing outside the shower.
Yeah, I
while
think
she-
so too.
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
we're in the same spot. There are a lot of people who said shared shower. I like that. I like where your head's at, Alan. I appreciate that. This is somebody complaining about bakeries in Germany.
Okay.
It's not. I'm not gonna clarify what I thought you thought I was referring to.
The thing I hate about Germany is the bagel situation.
Oh,
right. Why are there no bagels in Germany?
Oh, how about that?
we're not going to talk about Israel yet, but we are ready for
That's something.
segment.
We are.
Let's get into Isn't That Something? This is honestly, this is you know what? It's fine. Just little warning. This episode's a bit of a downer. So there was a group of YouTube music employees in Austin that had unionized, I think like last year sometime. And they were asking for the city council to get their support, something like that, because they're trying to fight back because they feel like they're being mistreated since they unionized. They were feel like they've been mistreated by Google. And like I said, these are YouTube music. If you use YouTube music as an app, this is some of the employees. This is what happened to them. But keep in mind, so what I'm about to play for you is a man standing in front of an Austin City Council meeting at the podium with the microphone speaking to the city council. Someone's going to come up behind him and give him some news.
To be supported by the city of Austin and also our allies in the labor community, give us the motivation to keep this fight
Not to
going.
interrupt, but they just laid us all off.
Oh,
Yeah, they just laid us all off.
we just all
Our
got
jobs are ended today, effective immediately.
Wow.
Oh, how about that?
Wow.
Yeah, pretty fucking shitty. I don't know. Here's a little bit more background. YouTube music workers voted 41-0 to unionize with Alphabet Workers Union last April. Google refused to bargain with the workers. It tried to claim the YouTube music workers weren't Google employees because they were subcontracted through Cognizant. I don't know the details there. The National Labor Relations Board ruled that Google was in fact a joint employer and had to meet workers at the bargaining table. Google refused to do that. And YouTube music workers were urging Austin City Council to support their bargaining efforts when they found out that all 43 people in that team were let go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how about that indeed?
Oh, thanks.
Isn't that something?
Oh yeah, thanks. There we go.
something.
That's very good. It would have been a downer if we didn't.
Right.
clip
Did
it.
you see the thing about the Dartmouth players are unionizing, the basketball players?
No.
Yeah, there's so Dartmouth College basketball players voted on Tuesday to unionize, a historic step toward forming the first union in college sports.
It's actually the answer, and people that we're not going to do a big college sports segment,
right?
But a lot of people are upset that college athletes are able to get paid for their name, image, and likeness.
Right.
That
Which
wasn't
just changed recently.
Just changed a couple of years ago, and it has altered the way that college sports are played now. You know, it used to be somebody would go to your team that you cheer for, and for 2 to 4 years they played on your team, 2 years if they go straight to the pros after a couple of years,
right?
Up to 4-5 years of eligibility. And then every once in a while, people would transfer, but there was obstacles to transferring. You'd have to sit out for a season, which means you start your pro career late. So most people didn't transfer. They made that all easier. And now people just like transfer in the middle of the season, start the next season at another place. As soon as the season's over, they go somewhere else. And there's a lot of turmoil from that. So the turmoil between that and players kind of teams buying the best players, basically, it's upset a lot of, because the thing with college football is it's tradition. So like it's right behind baseball with like, don't fuck with the sport,
Right. We've been doing this for 150 years.
Yeah, except the people that make that argument don't argue over like instant replay. They argue over, should we pay these athletes that are doing labor that's bringing in billions of dollars every year? So I'm on the side of the players. They should get paid, but I recognize the way that the sport is very different, and it makes me sad to see it not be what I love. And the only answer to it is there needs to be a players union, and nobody's going to like that makes the argument that I made, because that's the embodiment of everything falling apart if they unionize to that person. But as it stands right now, there's no going price for a quarterback. It's just a straight up arms race, right? So like, it's just a bidding war basically. But if you had a union, it would be like in the NFL where there is a first round draft pick price. They would be set prices that you pay for a quarterback, and it could be, organized by what level of competitiveness that your conference is or something like that. Right.
Sure.
And that's, it's not a good solution to the people that didn't want to see it get changed at all, but it's the only way it won't get worse in their opinion.
I think it's somewhat ironic that you said compared purchasing quarterbacks to an arms race.
That's funny. Is this football?
Oh yeah.
I get it. All right, can we get back into the show?
We can. Yes.
Let's talk about Israel a little bit. Slickett sent this in, and I think the guy that made this is like a little bit snarks, but I think these are good points, and I think that it's something that reasonable people can agree on, which is important, right? Like if we're gonna continue in a conversation where we might disagree, let's set up some like baseline of like agreed upon ground rules so we can play a sport together, right?
Okay, yeah.
All right.
This is important for both my Jewish friends and my non-Jewish friends who get a little bit confused or a little bit overzealous in either their criticism of the criticism or the criticism itself. Some things are a little bit more anti-Semitic, and some things are totally legitimate Israeli criticism. Let's break it down. Boom. Criticizing the Netanyahu government, totally legit. Israelis do it all the time, and they've been doing it by the thousands for the last year or two. Denying Israel's right to exist, that would be anti-Semitism, because unless you think there should be no countries at all for any groups of people, whether it's religious or cultural, and you only choose the Jewish state, that would be anti-Semitic.
That argument, I think, wins, but short of that argument is a statement of if you're presuming that I don't say it about anybody else, sure. But like there is a history lesson that we all have to agree upon to say that, right, of course, I'm not being anti-Semitic, to say that it's, I'm not saying it shouldn't exist, but it's a challenge that it does, that it's less than 100 years old, let's say, right?
Yeah, you can absolutely say
the
that.
lines were arbitrarily drawn by British and the French.
Yes. And you can say that you think that what Israel's doing in the West Bank and Palestine are human rights abuses. And that's not an anti-Semitic thing to say.
No, that's more. There's more, Alan. You see, there's a list.
There's a whole list. I see it.
Questioning the severity of the IDF response on October 7th, totally legit criticism. Israelis are doing it. Americans are doing it. Everybody's doing it. Totally legit. Praising October 7th as resistance and celebrating the event, that would be anti-Semitic and probably sociopathic, and just you need to get your head checked. Saying that Israel is a colonialist state, you could say it's anti-Semitic. I just say it's ignorant. Look, the reality is Jews existed and lived in Israel for 2,000 years before Islam ever even existed on this earth. Therefore, they can't possibly colonize the land that they were already in.
Again, there's an argument to be made, and then that's an appropriate response to that argument, right? Like to be like, okay, if you're saying in that context, sure. Like,
the one thing I don't like about what he's saying is when he says essentially what he's saying is the reason it's okay to do that is because Israelis do it and everybody does it. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want to be your base to
Oh, yeah. You mean going back to Netanyahu?
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to do it because, Israelis do it.
So why can't I say that word?
Yeah. I don't know if that's.
But now that you know that fact, if you still call Israel a colonialist state, that's probably anti-Semitic. If you ask your Jewish friends to explain some of this stuff to you, that's just being a good human and a good friend. And I'll let you read the last one yourself.
I'm not reading it, so. Button.
Isn't that something?
All right, let's do a little bit more. Thanks, Slickus, for that one. That was a good one. Good conversation piece. I labeled this clip "Ungrateful Palestinian." Let's find out why I said that.
Okay. What we've been hearing from the United Nations: extreme hunger in Gaza. At least 10 children, they say, died from dehydration and malnutrition. The U.S. wants to show it's doing something. Air Force cargo planes dropped food packages, but Palestinians say these airdrops are humiliating, and it's not a solution. And
Isn't that something?
That's humiliating. I'm sorry.
Humiliating.
Good point. One, dude. This is not the same thing at all. But there's this guy in this group chat that I'm in who was like complaining about how his car doesn't work because he needs to get his brake fixed. He doesn't have any money, and then we talk about this a lot in the show. He started becoming he started talking suicidal. And everybody in the group chat jumped right on it. We're like, hey, bud, I know we don't know each other super close, but you're someone I care about. What can I do to help you with that? If it's a matter of money, that shouldn't be anything that gets in the way here. Let's talk. The guy booted himself from the group chat. So we're already friends with him individually. So a couple of people reached out to him. And after he left the chat, we're like, hey, let's figure out what this costs. It can't be more than $800. I don't know. Maybe it's more than that, but let's figure out what it is. And so somebody reached out to him and was like, hey, Venmo, Cash App, anything like that? He's like, I don't know. I can't figure out how to set the Cash App up. I just, fuck it. It's like, hey, man, we're telling you, we're going to
try to help. Yeah.
And he's like, no, I just, at the end of the day, look, you've heard me do 340 episodes of these things. I'm not a cruel person. I walked away from the conversation because I reached out to him too. Walked away from the conversation just being like, you don't want to not have this problem. This is you identify yourself as someone who's struggling. You're having the answers, and it's not even a fucking handout. You still got to go do it. But we want to lower the bar of what it takes to keep you from off of the bad end of a rope.
He's the Republican Party with the border crisis.
Yes, thank you. I needed that. Thanks for pulling me back. It was upsetting, man. It's
no, I hear you. Yeah,
but it's one of those things where it's I don't care who you are. He's got some wacky ideology shit too. This is a political group chat. We kind of talk shit with each other. And it's hey, all that aside, what can I do to help you? And it's just whatever. Okay, this is let's get back to the goddamn show. Sorry. Fucking dead dog record.
Fucking ponderous, man.
Ponderous, definitely. This is Biden today. So talking about Israel, talking about Hamas. This is Biden today, just saying basically we're just waiting to hear back.
It's in the hands of Hamas right now. The Israelis have been cooperating. There's an offer out there that's rational. We don't know what. We'll know in a couple days if it's going to happen. But we need the ceasefire.
How close is the hostage deal?
I was just saying that. The hostage deal is in the hands of Hamas right now.
Okay. I don't mean to take an opportunity to puff up this old man, but if he was all fucking, mentally, if somebody asked him the same question again, I don't think he would go, I was just saying that. I think he'd be
I agree.
Great question. I wish somebody would ask me about the hostage deal, right?
Right.
Because there's been an offer, rational offer. The Israelis have agreed to it, and waiting to see what the Hamas does.
He's such an old man. He's holding a newspaper in his arm. He's like, they gave me the New York Times, so I'm going to go read it.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall, so last week he said that he was hopeful that we could get a ceasefire by yesterday, and that didn't happen. I believe the Hamas is saying they're not even sure they could find all the hostages until there's a ceasefire.
That sounds like the reason why.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why they're not agreeing to the ceasefire yet.
So when I struggle to, and I hate to put myself in this position because I floundered at last week, when I struggle to say what kind of propaganda is Hamas winning at, isn't it the fact that people are still hoping that hostages are alive this much later? There's some kind of a propaganda war that they've won, or not war, but victory there to even like act like, of course, those people aren't alive anymore.
Yeah, that's sure. I'll take that. I'll take that as propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah. So when Ramadan's coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've said that the U.S.'s interest is that Israel doesn't continue its bombardment during Ramadan, which in a sense, I think Israel's just like, oh, we're just going to speed things up. Let's get it done quick before then. Just to jump ahead a little bit, this threats and trends guy that we like to talk about that gets like not enough fucking pub online.
Yeah.
Threats and trends is kind of talking about the next phase of the conflict for Israel. How 0 comments, no comments, 14 likes, and it's a day old. What the hell is going on? Follow threats and trends.
IDF also kind of implied in recent documents that have been publicized from the IDF and the Israeli government that they don't really consider the situation to be resolved for another 6 to 8 weeks. And they expect, the war to continue as it is for another 6 to 8 weeks, after which point the IDF hopes to transition to a more lower level conflict, which is basically soft, like special operations raids and airstrike. But this transition plan includes a buffer zone along the border with Israel, as well as Israeli control of the border. And I think that that's pretty important because Egypt does not like the idea of Israel being in control of certain parts of the border. Egypt has, for instance, control of the Rafah crossing. And so that has led to some of the tension here between Israel and Egypt, with both of them kind of vying for control over this border. The buffer zone also goes counter to what the United States has requested from Israel in this conflict. The U.S. does not want Israel to shrink the territory of the Gaza Strip, and in implementing a buffer zone, that is going to shrink the territory of the Gaza Strip. The IDF also kind of implied in recent documents that have been publicized from the IDF and the Israeli government that they don't really consider the situation to be resolved for another 6 to 8 weeks. And they expect, the war to continue as it is for another 6 to 8 weeks, after which point the IDF hopes to
Did it just start over again?
I don't think so. Did it? Okay.
Transition to a more lower level conflict,
Oh, yeah,
which is basically soft, like
Yeah, because he said soft, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm not talking to my army nerds."
Right,
Soft,
special operations forces.
Yeah. Also, he said Rafah.
Rafah.
I just followed him on Instagram. I wasn't following him before.
So. Yeah. Cool.
I'd like.
And I'll go a little more. Let me back up because there's one more clip. I did jump ahead. This kind of was big news for half a day, and then people were like, well, if nobody's gonna fucking care, I guess we won't talk about it. But Benny Gans, I always want to say Benny Glands, but that's the head of the penis. It's spelled the same. Oh no, Benny Gantz. Yeah.
Gantz, yes.
Glans.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Benny Gantz is not the prime minister of Egypt. He's not the president of Egypt. He was the former prime minister. He was kind of like a co-prime minister, right? Him and another guy created a coalition, and it was sort of unorthodox. And they're like, look, we're going to try something wild. We're going to let Arabs into the Knesset. Nobody's done that before. And so they're like, okay, well, we better take turns being in charge. I mean, tell me if I'm making any of this up.
No, you're not. Although I think you said Egypt and you meant Israel.
I did? I said Egypt?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Benny Gantz was the former prime minister of Israel.
Israel, yes.
And now he's in, and he's the opposition party from Bibi. But they've sort of,
they've made a wartime cabinet, essentially.
Well, they rallied around the flag after October 7th, and he is in Bibi's war cabinet.
Right.
He came to Washington, and he didn't meet with our president. I think he met with the vice president. Well, here, let me play this clip. There was a bunch of talk about this wasn't approved by Bibi. He's doing this behind his back. Is this insubordination?
I mean, I think one of the people who thinks that Benny Gantz has gone above his station is the Prime Minister himself, Benjamin Netanyahu. The divisions within the war cabinet and within the governing coalition are pretty public. I mean, Benny Gantz going to the United States, that's obviously a pretty public display of the division there. What Benny Gantz has said and his colleagues in the National Unity Party is that they believe that in the war cabinet that the Prime Minister has been acting unilaterally, has not been consulting with them, and this is them responding in kind, if you like.
That's what they're saying. That's what Gantz has said? Because I hadn't heard that. I haven't heard of these fractures.
I mean, I think there's been fractures in that cabinet prior we've heard of, But I don't know, was that Gant saying, or was that like an outsider saying that? That's
Yeah, I have to go back. Let me see.
I think she was saying that
Someone that was the reporting is that
right,
he's saying that in private. Okay,
right,
all right,
right. I
It's
mean,
all hearsay.
it is a pretty
Well, she
big.
talks money. I'm not listening to this.
It is a pretty big deal for essentially a cabinet member of a foreign country to make a visit not authorized by the prime minister of their country. Also weird that sort of like when Netanyahu came here and didn't speak with Obama. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, but gave a speech in front of the
Congress.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, we send like house delegations to Taiwan to like meet their emperor or whatever. That's like
true.
Is that different?
No, I don't think.
I mean, it's all coordinated, so I guess so.
Well, yeah, I don't think the administration was
It's not
happy
Emperor,
about
it's
Pelosi
Dragon,
doing
right?
that.
Is it the
Yes.
Grand Dragon of Taiwan? Is that what they call it?
Oh, I don't know that. It's not Emperor. It's definitely not Emperor.
Okay. Oh, but it might be Grand Dragon. Okay.
Sure. I don't think it's that either.
You know what? I give you shit when you don't do improv well with me, and that was perfect. You said, "Yeah." Well, why am I? Thank you, Alan. Okay. Let's talk about Russia. Here's a good transition piece into Russia. This is we're going back to Tucker. Again, and he interviewed Putin. Somebody noticed a pattern.
Poland, Polish, Polonization, Poles, colonize Poland, 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 Poland.
We're only halfway there. Actually, we're not even.
Poland, 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 Polish, Poland, 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 Poland.
We're getting close. That's 29.
That's a lot of Poland.
Poland, Polish, Poland, Polish, Poland, Polish, Poles, Poland.
Do you think we're done?
I mean, we got to be close to being done.
This is
42.
Yeah.
Poland, 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 Polish.
Oh my God, 48. 47.
47.
Tucker.
You did talk a lot about Poland.
I'm sorry, Alan. That was George Carlin talking. What did you say?
I said he did talk about Poland quite a bit. There seems
Quite
to be some
quite a bit.
bit of a crush.
How would
on
you
Poland.
feel if you were Polish?
I would be. I'd be making sure I was paying my NATO dues if I were Poland.
How would you feel if you were Polish?
Polish?
Yeah, because oddly that's spelled the same way. Not Paulish.
Right.
Polish. Like Polish.
POL. Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember Polish jokes were a huge thing? Remember? Like
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. That was a big
because
deal.
we were still getting jokes that kids learned from their dad.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many poles does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Yeah, and there was just this rotation between blood. Remember what happened to their Ice Cube recipe? They lost it. Don't laugh, Alan.
Isn't that something?
It's funny.
It's not funny.
It's kind of funny.
Hey, fine, it's funny. So you get to all right. We're still talking about Russia, so stop it.
Got it.
Ukraine here.
Kaliningrad, yes, got it in there.
I sent you an article about how Germany was having like a national security. Like
they're just out there on WebEx having conversations about.
Is WebEx a secured platform?
No.
Well, do they at least have like a sign-in room? Like, because tell I didn't read the article. I read the headline, and that headline or that article will sort of lead us into some audio that Cody sent us.
So essentially, the German defense top people were having a conversation about whether or not
That's
to
actually
send.
how that's pronounced in German. So you guys probably thought Alan was having trouble finding his words, but that's what they call it there.
Top, yes,
German defense top people.
Yeah, exactly. So they're having a conversation about whether or not to send these missiles to Ukraine that they felt they could use to blow up the bridge to Crimea with, because they can bypass certain, they fly below radar, use very special like AI and GPS stuff to get where they want to go.
But they only have a range of like 100 yards, right? 100 miles, right?
No, it's more than 100, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But they're not in range right now, right?
They're not. Well, no.
Storm Shadow? I apologize. I'm so sorry. I am thinking about what Cody sent us. You were talking about the Storm Shadows that are similar to like
the article. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So they're discussing whether or not to send these to Ukraine, how many they would need to send. They figured they could send 100 because that's all they could use anyways. And then whether or not they would need to send German military forces there to train the Ukrainians to use them or not, because that's essentially putting boots on the ground. There's also some conversation.
Can we pause there? Don't forget what you're about to say. I want to point out a distinction between them having a conversation about boots on the ground in a training capacity in like Kiev or like somewhere off the front lines, and them actively operating the equipment, right?
Right.
That's wildly different.
Very different. Very different.
And that's been happening by other countries. I mean, we've been doing it as long as the war's been going on.
Yes, and there was some conversation within this conference webcam call, whatever, where
There's
they
tokens.
said,
Were people giving out tokens? Anybody touch the toes?
No. But they were talking about, we know there's a lot of U.S. and British Army personnel on the ground there already. They're training and advising. Maybe they're assisting. We don't know. But they kind of talked about that sort of in the background. And somehow Russia acquired the audio to this.
No, they joined the meeting.
They
were in the fucking room because it was just like, here's the link and you joined. They didn't even make you say like, okay, before you join, the password is Putin is gay.
Right.
Like, oh, I can't type that. No, you got me. Like, no, it was just click the link like you joined here,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally like joining here.
Right. It was just like that. So pretty bizarre stuff happening over there in Germany.
But so it's emblematic of a lot of things, right? Like that guy that leaked the Discord leaks was just like a guy who shouldn't have had clearance for that, right? Like
should have had access to that. Yeah.
Have access to it, but he was in the room. That he was allowed to be in that room to do his like data work, and in the process, all this information was available for him to stumble upon. Yeah, it's just like loose lips sink ships or whatever, right? So Kitbag sent me that. And I had already read that I read the headline of it, but not dove into it over the weekend. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sucks. But then I was like, I keep saying Kitbag. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Cody sent me that. And I was just like, yeah, dude, that sucks. And I was like, oh, I should pay attention when my like Intel analyst friend sends me things.
Right.
I was like, I was a fucking dummy. I'd ask him so many questions. And finally he sent me this voice note. But before that, I was like, what do you think? Huh? How about that for a hard-hitting question?
Yeah.
Well, thank God I said that.
I think the big thing coming out of this is that this is 100% confirmation that not only is the United States, France, and the UK in Ukraine, but they are also manning strategic things. So
you read the article. Did you come to that conclusion reading that?
There was some comments. Let me find it here real quick.
Okay, I'll play the rest of the clip.
Okay.
Assumption is that it's the Patriot systems, the ADA systems, maybe even potentially HIMARS, and those are the ones going forward and taking out or destroying the Russian airplanes that are dropping those Fab 500s.
Okay, a couple of things to fill in there. So when he's talking about the HIMARS or the Patriot systems moving forward and taking out 500s, that's what I want to break down really quick because I didn't know what that meant either. I was like, hey, come on, I fix oven equipment for a living. Like, don't make me talk to you about it as like an OV500. Okay, is it a GEE2 or is it like okay, all right. Anyways, you don't want to work on an HBA. Those ones are difficult and old, finicky. Yeah. Anyway, so he talks about them like going forward with these like Patriot missile systems, right? What he's talking about is when these things are operating, they give out. Does EW stand for electronic warfare signature? EW signature?
I think so.
So he's like, these things give out like a huge EW signature. So when they're on and operating, you can tell that one is in the area by its electromagnetic field or signature. So because of that, the Ukrainians are moving these into forward positions, exposing them, but doing it
quickly.
Clandestinely, and turning them on, hitting their target, turning them back off, and moving them back into
correct. Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yes, but when you think about that, that means that they have another craft identifying it because you're not turning it on and looking. You're getting
you already know it's there.
You know where it is. Turning it on, hitting the target, turning it back off. And that's how they've hit those big fucking like C-130 looking things with the big disc on the top. Like I don't know shit for planes, but the big fucking one with the disc on the top, not the small one with the disc on the top.
Right.
Like it's like a mobile command center or whatever up in the air. So they've taken out, I think they have like, I can't remember if they have 6 or 9 of them total. They've lost 2 now. Russia's lost 2 because of these types of attacks. And a bunch of expensive fixed-wing fighters.
Not just the expensive equipment, but also very specialized troops to run that stuff.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yes. Good point. So So those are these raids he's talking about. And then when he talks about the S-500s, the S-500s is what I thought you were talking about earlier. S-500s are these modified bombs, missiles, whatever, that the Russians can use, but they have to be within like 100 miles of their target. And when they can get through the front lines and not have to worry about exposing their aircraft to these Patriot systems, Putin's just going to be like leveling buildings in Kyiv. Like that's the end of everything. Like, so those are the two things, those S-500s and those raids.
And those are the ones going forward and taking out or destroying the Russian airplanes that are dropping those Fab 500s. And I've said this to my guys. I think that those
500s is a defense system. Excuse me.
I've said this to my guys. I think that those are the strategic objective of Russia. So what that means is that literally everybody who's in the Russian military is looking for those Patriot and ADA systems. And that means that
I'm picturing Jason Bourne. Oh my God, it's Jason Bourne. Like everybody is looking for these systems. Like, because that's all they have to do is get through that.
And that means that we're probably going to have American soldiers or State Department officials who are or American soldiers under Title 50, whatever you want to call them. They're Americans.
So when he's talking about Title 50, that is the ability for, without having Congress or, without everybody knowing that you've moved troops around, they can reallocate troops to those positions. I was talking about this with Greg, and he was saying that Title 50 doesn't allow you to move the types of troops that are the ones that are specially trained in these weapon systems, and that those people have already been there in a training capacity back in Kyiv right now. So, or if they've already been there, that tells me something else, but I'm kind of off. I got 10 more seconds of the audio. You want to say something first?
No, let's play that, and then I'll go back to what the article said.
They're going to die. Russia's going to find them. They're going to kill them, and somebody's going to have some explaining to do. And yeah.
Basically, in his interpretation of this leaked audio, that Americans are the ones. Basically, what he's saying is we have trained them to do these, to operate these systems, but there's no way they're able to pull off these maneuvers with the lack of training that they've had, or the brief training that they've had. More than likely, we have Americans operating them, or at least a couple Americans in the group operating them. And when they start blowing these up, they're going to be killing Americans, and that's how we're going to find out about it.
So very much a similar situation to Vietnam, I guess.
I asked him, was like, is this like Westmoreland lying? He's like, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the comment in the article that caught my eye was this particular paragraph: U.S. military personnel in Ukraine could aid local troops in handling the Taurus. That's the missiles that Germany was considering
hard to find, right?
To send. Yeah.
Nobody knows. I was making a clitoris.
General Gerhardt is heard saying many people with American accents run around in civilian clothes in Ukraine. So what he's suggesting is that there's already American personnel on the ground, whether that is trained advised.
That sounds a lot like Little Green Men.
Right, it does. Now, so there's train advised and there's train advised assist. When you add the assist, that's when you got Americans actually in harm's way. And so I think that's what Cody is referring to. Potentially, he believes is happening on the ground there.
There still isn't explicit evidence to prove that, but I mean that seems to be the implication by that general.
Certainly not a great WebEx to have leaked. That's
no shit. All right.
Yeah.
Tell me where we are. Right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to American politics. The hot governor is the hot governor of one of the Dakotas, Kristen Noem. She is not allowed on the res.
Breaking news! The largest tribe in South Dakota has banished the state's governor from its lands after her speech about immigration. The tribe leader Frank Starr comes out, issued a statement barring Governor Kristi Noem from entering the Oglala Lakota Nation reservation. Tribal nations have federally protected sovereignty, which states lack authority over.
Isn't that something?
This is funny. Like, I love that. I think the Cherokee Nation did something weird too. Not weird. Appropriate, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have an audio about Haiti, and it's out of place here anyways, but I guess I put a place there. I mean, you know what? I forget. It'll come up in the headline show, I'm sure. We'll talk about
it. Will.
Haiti.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone from shit show to shit show over there. So,
yeah.
Yes.
And it was like Dad's gone, right? They're like, hey, he's in Kenya. Let's fucking have a prison break.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't forget that coup in 2004 was all perpetrated by the CIA in a prison break. So let's see what happens next. I was talking about the 2004 one, not the one in 2022. It's different.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah. Different
time.
one. Yeah. Let's talk about the border. So on Friday, we had that clip where Biden was like, "Hey, Trump, join me or I'll join you. Like, let's resolve this." Here's a side by side. This was big news, and then the president got a bunch of legal breaks that went his way. But both the president and Donald Trump went down to the border and made photo ops, like, I don't know, 100 miles from each
I think
other.
it's less than that. Yeah.
Less than that.
Election that we ended up getting many millions of more votes than we did. We did much better in 2020 than we ever even thought about doing in 2016. And very bad things happened. And from that moment on, it was a whole different ballgame in Texas.
And anyway, since I took office, FEMA's provided Texas alone over $13 billion. $13 billion in 3 years in disaster relief after fires and winter storms across this state. And when disasters strike, there's no red state or blue state where I come from. They're just communities and families looking for help. So we're standing with everyone affected by these wildfires. We're going to continue to help you respond and recover.
We had it.
Don't let me in this damn house.
Damn, wrong button. Sorry.
Start the show again.
Yeah.
Quite the contrast.
Quite the contrast.
Quite the
Typical
contrast.
Democrat talking about giving out money. Am I right, Alan? Unbelievable.
I mean, he's talking about, having compassion for American citizens, even though they're not politically aligned, which is what a president's supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have the part where he talks about migrants?
Who said that?
Trump said that.
No, I actually have a whole tape of just him flubbing, and it's not yeah.
No, he said that we like to call them illegal immigrants, Biden's illegal immigrant or criminal immigrants, and then he conflates it and says, "We'll call them migrants." Yeah, we'll call them migrants. Let's do that.
Did he accidentally into it, or was it a bad pun?
You know how he always
Is it a clumsy portmanteau?
I like the way you say that. No, it's because he thinks he's great at branding, and so he comes up with this thing like on the fly on stage.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, that's brilliant!" Actually,
Like bird brain for Nikki Haley.
Yes, exactly.
Nikki, what do you think about the bird brain one?
No.
She doesn't like it.
No.
What nickname do you want, Nikki?
I had black friends growing
It's
up.
too many words. You don't. She doesn't understand nicknames. No wonder you're last. This guy should have been president, but he's too busy being the gay governor of Colorado.
And of course, we need more border patrol agents. Congress needs to fund them. Congress needs to fund additional border security. Of course, when people are entering illegally and we fail to lock down that southern border because Congress can't act, of course it'll increase the demand for housing, and that only adds to the cost of housing in communities across the country. So while we're undertaking a number of efforts to remove barriers, to build new housing, reducing permitting time, cutting red tape, we also want to make sure that we can secure that border to make America safer and to make America more affordable.
I could have sworn he was
Isn't that something?
Republican. He's a Democrat. Didn't
He is
honestly
Democrat.
didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a Dem.
Yeah, wow. This whole time I thought he was a Republican. He did an interview with Reason. I didn't know they talked to Democrats.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It was that's when he first got on my radar.
Okay.
I asked my uncle, who's like a raging progressive, I was like, "What do you think of this guy?" He's like, "He's perfect for us. We're a purple state and people don't want to admit it. Like, he can communicate to everyone. He's a great guy." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Nice.
No, well, I thought he was a Republican. So we've gone on Brido's show and I recommended him as the Republican president. Do you think people Googled that and told him, "Don't let these guys back on"?
No, I doubt it.
I'm so insecure sometimes. I swear. I got to move. Okay. This one's a bit of a visual gag, but I don't want this to be lost because of the other news of Trump from the weekend. So Trump went down to the border and he did this photo op where America's favorite sitting governor,
Abbott.
Dan Patrick, former host of Sports Center. Oh, no, Greg Abbott. Dan Patrick's his vice president of Texas.
Right.
So they both go up to the fence with all the razor wire. Looks just like horrible. Makes us look like a prison, or at least like it's not the aesthetic that I want.
No, it's really not.
You know what?
It's not a great look.
People say what you want about it. Bad aesthetic.
Bad aesthetics.
People don't make that comment enough. you know?
Yeah, aesthetics are important. We got to have the feng shui of the country. It has to be. Otherwise, our
I hope
GDP
you're not
is gonna
seriously
collapse.
not liking aesthetics. I mean,
I'm
especially like in philosophy. Okay, I'll stop right
Aesthetics are
now.
important.
So they're staring through this razor wire across the river, and there's a handful of migrants on the other side, on the other bank. And well, here, I'll let you hear what happens. At one point, though, I need to describe it to you. Trump raises his hand and just waves. Just the impulse. This is the same man that was like stared at the sun during an eclipse. Just like no impulse control. Just like, why don't I wave at them? Like this
is so weird.
It is. If this was any other human on Earth, like Bird Brain, what's her name?
I had black friends growing up.
If Nikki did this, we'd be like, we would lambast her and never get over it. Like, who the fuck was she waving at? Why would any normal human wave at and just egomaniac? It makes sense. It's just he's so transparent. It just you're like, that's what that guy would do. So it'd be weird if he didn't.
I mean, clearly all those beautiful people across the river are here to see me. I mean, that's obviously.
Maybe you heard what he said. He did the fist bump like the way he does at the rally.
At a rally, yeah.
To someone who his stated political platform is fuck you, don't fucking come here. Right. And if you come here, you're gonna die or we're gonna deport you, right? And you're a rapist and you're a murderer. So this is the way he treats rapists and murderers and the worst, really, right? Like he goes fist bump, yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then
they like Trump. Can you believe it?
So just he's on record being like, oh wow, the rapists and the murderers.
They like Trump. Can you believe it?
There's another video of this from the other side, which I can imagine that people have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to, but I can imagine, like maybe for safety's sake, you kept the battery off till you got to the border, or you turn it on once a night or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it works. It's fine. There's people on the other bank filming it, and that got uploaded too. And I was like, now how did this get recorded? Because if it wasn't what I just said, there's a fucking film crew on both sides. And that's just disgusting. What a fucking joke, right? Like, is the whole thing staged?
Dude, it just feels like we're in a simulation. I don't even know. He goes to the border and like fist bumps. That's so fucking crazy.
Did you not see this?
I didn't see this. I saw him. I guess before or after this. So
Yeah.
I saw him with the governor in the wheelchair talking to each other. But
That video is fucking surreal, right?
I didn't see that particular.
This was the one. This is the video you were talking about on the Friday show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just fist bumps. Yeah.
Can't-
They like me.
You can't make this shit up, man.
No, you can. Okay, let's get into some election coverage, and then we'll go to half. Let's see, election coverage, and then I got a couple of conspiracy clips before we go to half.
Okay.
So elections coming up in 8 months. Remember, kids, less than 3 trimesters until the election.
It's an odd way to put the time frame, but I guess given a lot of current topics of discussion, perhaps it makes sense. Yes.
There you go, Alan.
Yes.
There you go. You got to it. Yes, that's exactly the train of thought. Let's play this Lawfare podcast. So we've got 2 Trump trials to cover of note.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with the immunity hearing. So the Supreme Court announced that they will hold hearings as to whether the president has total immunity
in April. Yes.
In April. So in April, the timing side of this is what's kind of important. That's mostly what this clip's about. So Roger Parlov, legal scholar, former lawyer, and writer for Lawfare. Reporter, there we go, for Lawfare. He kind of does a breakdown of the trial math and when the reasonable time to actually hold the trial is. And he has a little tip in about how we may have ended up there.
Which is a possibility. But so maybe the trial starts September 2nd. Jack Smith has estimated his case in chief would take 4 to 6 weeks. If we assume the Trump case and the rebuttal case take another 2 weeks, and of course, Trump's lawyers will be going kicking and screaming to create delays. I think the most optimistic for the jury getting the case will be November 1st. The election is November 5th. So that is, I think, not doable. I think it's not doable. And I think they knew that. I honestly think they knew that. They have a lot of...
Let's keep in mind, he's got a little bit more. Let's keep in mind that they knew they were asked to decide this in December. The court below them gave an airtight decision on it with a wide-ranging panel of appointments and perspectives. And they waited over 10 days. I think they waited almost 2 weeks to pick this up after that.
Right.
It's weird how like everything that they can do to help Trump, they do quickly, and everything that they can do to hurt him, they do slowly.
Well, I mean,
that would be a better observation at the end of our full scope of the trials, because the other trial kind of is a better indicator of that. But what were you going to say?
I was actually going to say probably what we're going to get into next, which is the whole can he be on the ballot case because of Section 3, Article 14.
They came right back with that one, didn't they?
They almost, I mean, that's like warp speed for the court. It was less than 2 months, I want to say, a month and a half, something like that. And so they're not even going to hear arguments for almost 2 months. You know, it's like 7 weeks out.
Which they do have an expedited docket. They have the shadow docket.
But this is what I was talking about.
They have the shadow docket where they can consider if they're going to later review Roe versus Wade. Right? They can use the shadow docket for that, which they did.
Right.
But they can't do the shadow docket for this.
I mean, so this is what I was talking about last week when I said we can't pretend these justices live in a vacuum. Like they have to be aware.
I think that means that, like, you know, they should face real life consequences for their decisions.
Well, I mean, they at the very least they have to be aware the consequences of their decisions, and they have to take that into consideration. So, I mean, to your point, on the one hand, they react very quickly. On the other hand, they don't. In all likelihood, I mean, that's the trial starting the week of the election is just like it's insane. Like that's there's just So I mean, there's still a Georgia case.
I think the jury would gather the week of the election, which means maybe by the 5th of November. Like, really, we're doing Guy Fawkes Day. Like, you don't just skip that one when it's on the calendar.
Right.
We're doing it on the 6th this year. There's 3 seconds left.
They have a lot of good clerks. They know what we think they knew that. They have a lot of good clerks. They know what we know. They know more than we know.
Of course they do. I mean, of course they do. To argue the opposite is insane. So then you have to decide, well, why are they doing that? That's the question, right? If it's very clear on one hand they act quickly, on the other hand they drag their feet. The question is why, and obviously it's political expediency, which they're out there saying they're not political, they're apolitical.
That's kind of some of this next clip, but go on, please. No, I don't want to cut you short.
No, I mean, you'd have to be blind not to see this. Like it's
justice,
pun not intended. Okay, all right, go on.
So the most uncynical.
This is a 2.5 minute clip. This is an interrupting clip, Alan.
Okay.
Cynical representation.
So Ben Wittes, the host of Lawfare, says he has three ideas of why
the court did what it did. Yes.
And he's like, I'll tell them to you in increasing levels of cynicism.
So the most uncynical representation would be, hey, this is a group of people that simply doesn't feel the electoral urgency of this the way Jack Smith does, and is in fact a little bit annoyed with Jack Smith over his pleas of urgency. So, he says everybody agrees that you're not allowed to say we need to get this done in time for the election. But what he's been doing is speaking in code and say we need to get it done because the public has a right to a speedy trial and the fair adjudication of justice. And the justices are listening to this and saying, hey, he wants this done in time for an electoral calculation, and that is inappropriate on the Justice Department side, and we're not playing ball with that. And so when he asks them for cert before judgment, they come back and say, nope, do it in the regular order. And when he then comes back and says, no, really expedited schedule, please, in the regular order, they're like, yeah, okay, we'll expedite a little bit, but we're basically going to treat this a lot like another case. And this is really frustrating for Jack Smith, but it's the Supreme Court taking seriously the idea that the electoral calendar doesn't matter and isn't a legitimate consideration. And so what we should do as a court is consider this in the usual expedited way, not
So that's like the traditional, like, dispassionate approach. That's like best grace given to them, right?
I mean, that's the most generous way of looking at it, I suppose. But
Let's start with a G.
I guess, I mean, if you just compare the two cases side by side, on one hand, they are aware of what's happening in the political zeitgeist. On the other hand, they claim like ignorance, which just that's not possible. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah,
right?
well, and they're all Alan. They're all originalists too, right?
Right, right,
unless
right.
the urge takes them.
Not in some way that was designed to make sure the 88 days let you get a trial started in time, that it's done by November 5th, Election Day, Guy Fawkes Day, Ben Wittes' birthday. Second possibility, a little bit more cynical. They actually want to expedite it, but don't want to be seen to be playing the games that Jack Smith, including, by the way, not just Donald Trump, but, our colleague Jack Goldsmith is accusing him of playing. And so what you do is you expedite it enough that he'll get what he needs, but not enough so that you look like you're playing ball with him. And then the third possibility, the really cynical possibility, is they are trying to give Donald Trump a win here without giving him a win. He is going to lose on the merits, but if they can buy him a little time, then he may lose on the merits, but he gains something anyway. And so that would be the really cynical way to look.
And in reality, it's probably a mixture of 2 or 3 of those, right?
I think it's mostly 3. I mean,
mostly 3.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, his second option there is that they're concerned about appearances. I mean, this court. I mean, are you like? I don't see that at all.
That's a great delivery. Hey, LOL down. Yeah. So like one of the things, basically what that centered around was like not taking election day into account, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But like both sides have different concerns over that. And I think one side is like, hey, I'm not saying this is all about the election, but it's a factor in this decision because the guy can pardon himself afterwards. Mm-hmm. And if he's truly guilty, we need to find out before he has the ability to do that.
So, yes.
Like that's a reasonable take on that. But nobody wants to start that sentence because the other side will just be like, oh, you want it before the election. I heard that part of that sentence. Mm-hmm. So, but like who's taking it into account? Like trying to postpone it or trying to rush it? Like which perspective of those seems mostly to be happening, right? The case was indicted last August. The facts of the investigation have been completely known since at least November of 2021. Like nobody's surprised. Like this isn't like announcing a new election 2 weeks before the 2016 election, right?
Right.
Like looking into Hillary's laptop or whatever that Comey did. Mm-hmm. Like in fact, Trump in this motion said he wanted the SCOTUS to put in a stay and run off the clock. They even said this will serve voters to hear from me in the campaign. So one of these is explicitly saying like this needs to be dealt with for the election. The other one's like, hey, for legal reasons, it would be stupid not to resolve this before the election. And it's just used as a talking point that it's like the radical Democrats, they couldn't have done this in 2001. Although I will say, how come when the Democrats had the House and Senate, they didn't try to ban him as an insurrectionist then? Because the case you couldn't like prove the case yet. You didn't have like all the facts that they have now. I guess that makes sense.
That's an interesting question.
Because they would have had 50 Democrats and maybe a couple of Republican defectors at that point in like, January 15th or something, right after the
that's absolutely. I think that's correct. I think they would have.
It would have probably helped Republicans if they would have done that, because then Trump wouldn't have been influencing the 2020 election as much as he did. Like they might have actually got a bunch of Republicans. They might have had the red wave. Because don't you remember his candidates had such a bad showing in the 22 elections because he was endorsing them. Republicans might have done better if they would have just banned him in 2020.
Dr. Oz and what was
yeah, Warnock won.
Yeah.
What was, I don't remember who he was. Oh, Jesus Christ, the football player.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker.
Yes. I just started naming Georgia football players. Okay. Where are we? Oh, okay. Let's talk about the what was I saying before? I mean, which one of those sounds like it's actually affecting the election, right? Holding the trial and trying it beginning last August for a time months ago, right? Like we would have had the trial right now if Trump didn't get to pull his shenanigans.
100%. Yes. So
it can't be both things. They can't be like, oh, well, when they indict him and when he gets charged with things, it's good for his campaign. And this hurts him because he won't be on the campaign trail. Which is it? Like, it's either the best thing that's ever happened to his campaign or, okay.
Yes.
Right. But they're like, no, we want to delay this until the election.
We want to delay this expediently. We're going to do it.
So there is that whole thing where the Department of Justice is like, we won't delay this expediently. That's hilarious. There is that whole thing where the Department of Justice is like, we won't have investigations like 6 weeks before an election.
Right.
It's like
like an unwritten rule sort of thing.
Well, it's a long-standing written rule. It's in like a memo, and those memos aren't like, hey, I wrote it down to talk about it on the show and I forgot to say it. Like these are like guidelines that if you don't use, people will like criticize you later for not following.
Sure.
So that's new investigations. People keep tossing that around. This is a trial that they had to have a long time ago. So okay.
Yeah, this ain't new. This ain't new.
But the guy's right. Like it wouldn't be prudent to do it, and the court knows, and that's why they did that. Not the decision they made, but the way they did it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture. So probably the bigger legal story in terms of it closing a major storyline in the election was we have a final decision for the Supreme Court in a 9-0 unanimous decision. If you do not meet the eligibility requirements of being president, it will take literally an act of Congress for you to be taken off of a state ballot. Is there any other way to interpret that? I have a 6-minute clip that we will talk throughout. This is an interrupting clip. I have a 6-minute clip that will describe it in more detail, but did I make a false statement there? If you are a 25-year-old gentleman from French Guiana, I don't know, do they call it that still? If you're a 25-year-old smooth Brazilian boy, the only way you cannot be allowed to be on a state ballot now is if an act of Congress says to remove you. So if you're like really popular and everybody loves you, like Ronaldo or something.
Messi.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So
because all they had to decide was on Colorado, and they're like, oh, also just to be clear, it'll take Congress. They're like, you could have just said Colorado can't get to do this.
Well, the interesting thing about the ruling is while it was 9-0, the three liberal justices wrote their own opinion, and then ACAB, Amy Coney Barrett, wrote hers.
I have a clip describing hers that is actually, I feel, really well done. I
agree with I agree with that, and I think what she says, what she's saying in that clip, I haven't heard yet, but what she said in her opinion was very much kind of along the lines of what you're saying. Is I think that this is the right decision in this particular case, but it shouldn't be so broad as to apply to anything in that amendment going forward. And because obviously the argument that you're making is that that's ridiculous, and why bother having anything in the Constitution?
They said it's not self-executing,
right,
like,
right?
Yeah, and they didn't have to make that decision. They're like, no,
they did not.
Well,
they did not have to do that. They didn't have to go that far.
Yeah.
Congress has the power, we know this, but do states have the power to enforce Section 3 in addition to Congress? And this is what the court said. Quote, we conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency. And
okay, so states don't have the power to restrict federal office running candidates, right? Or people running for federal office, right?
Yeah, I guess the argument they were making was that it would be chaotic if states were allowed to control who is and is not on the ballot based on that category. They just say it would be the election process as a whole in the country would break down, sort of is what they were saying.
That's what they assumed, but I have a little more faith in that. But okay.
I do too.
I also have a response to that's more fitting later in this clip. Let me back up just slightly.
3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency. And quote, they say, quote, in our federal system, the national government possesses only limited powers. The states and the people retain the rest. Among those retained powers is the power of a state to order the processes of its own governance.
So this was the part to me, like that, I guess somewhat flippantly, I was always like, well, doesn't the federal government get its power from the states giving it to them? Why do the states not get allowed to choose this? This is where they kind of explained that in a way. I was like, okay, having heard that argument, I am persuaded.
Sure. Makes sense. Yes.
In particular, the states enjoy sovereign power to prescribe the qualifications of their own officers and the manner of their elections. Such power over governance, however, does not extend to federal office holders and candidates, because federal officers owe their existence and functions to the united voice of the whole, not a portion of the people. Powers over their election and qualifications must be specifically delegated to rather than reserved by the states. Anderson.
This is delegated to, reserved. Alan.
So it has to be decided by Congress. So the delegation the states send to the federal bureaucracy, right, as opposed to the state itself, is what they're saying.
Okay.
Agreed that states can't remove federal office holders, but what Anderson argued in part is that states can enforce Section 3 against candidates for office.
So that's a big distinction right there. So Anderson was the argument saying that he should be removed, and the Anderson's argument was, I get what you're saying, like the state shouldn't decide who a federal employee is, but this is a person running for federal office in our state. Like, I feel like the state should have a say.
Yes.
Okay.
Can't remove federal office holders, but what Anderson argued in part is that states can enforce Section 3 against candidates for offices, so those not yet elected, and
not just arbitrarily, but like interpreting the United States Constitution, who can be in their state.
The court disagreed with this, and what the court explained is that the text of the 14th Amendment does not affirmatively delegate such a power to the states. And as the court said before, because federal officers owe their existence to the whole nation, powers over the elections and qualifications of these federal officials must be specifically delegated to the states. The court then says this logic can't come as a surprise because the 14th Amendment specifically limited state power, yet granted new power to Congress to enforce the provisions of the 14th Amendment.
I had to hear that a couple of times. So the 14th Amendment, after the Civil War, they wanted to make sure that the states being back into the Union and their representatives didn't gain more power. And they wanted to make it clear that the federal government was acquiring more, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that power that was decided then in that manner is influencing this decision, because how can you then say that the state using this law is having the upper hand over the federal government? That makes sense to me. It does.
Yeah, I mean, if you posit it in that light, or in post-Civil War, the whole point.
Why was this written?
Right, exactly. The whole point of this legislation was to prevent that from happening. So it was essentially taking power away from the states on purpose.
It also wasn't only for the states doing it. It was the individuals.
Sure.
Okay.
Also that.
Amendment, the court says, quote, it would be incongruous to read this particular amendment as granting the states the power, silently no less, to disqualify a candidate for federal office. And to Anderson's attorney, back when oral arguments happened, is he said, if we look at the 14th Amendment from 30,000 feet up, the broad...
This is what Robert said to Anderson. So the head of the Supreme Court.
The purpose of it was to restrict the power of the states and augment the power of Congress. So why would the argument be under Section 3 that the states have the power to remove someone, especially a federal official, from their state ballot? States barred state candidates from their ballot, but no federal candidates. So the court said, quote, such a lack of historical precedent is generally a telling indication of a severe constitutional problem with the asserted power.
So what that last part was about was saying, like, hey, when we look through the records, we don't see any instances of somebody being banned by a state in this manner before for this reason. And I would say, oh, fuck, sorry. Like, that's really weird. Like, could you not admit that this person is exceptional at this? Like, I'm on record saying all presidents should be impeached, and this guy needs to be like under the jail for the shit that he did. Like,
yeah,
in public, like just it's obvious. It's right there. Like, sorry, I feel like if there is a reason to say, hey, nobody's ever used this before, you say, right, nobody's tried this before.
Yeah, this is a very unique situation.
Yeah.
I mean, and what they're saying, essentially what they're asserting is that states have the right to say somebody can't run for governor if they believe they've participated in an insurrection, or the state house or Senate, whatever, but not when it comes to a federal.
It's really weird to think that our federal government would want to be really clear that nobody in the state can do that, but you can be president.
It's hard. It doesn't make any sense. The argument kind of falls apart logically.
What the court said is that, quote, to comply with that limitation, Congress must tailor its legislative scheme to remedying or preventing the specific conduct the relevant provision prohibits. Section 3, unlike other provisions.
So that was the part of Section 5, which she just read, right? That was the part, okay, which is the one that was beyond the scope of the specific question of the trial.
Right.
Of the 14th Amendment prescribes conduct of individuals. It bars persons from holding office after taking a qualifying oath and then engaging in insurrection or rebellion. Nothing more. Any congressional legislation enforcing Section 3 must reflect congruence and proportionality between preventing or remedying that conduct and the means adopted to that end.
She doesn't explain.
End quote. So what Justice Barrett said is this. She said, I join parts 1 and 2B of the court's opinion. I agree states lack the power to enforce Section 3 against presidential candidates. That principle is sufficient to resolve this case, and I would decide no more than that.
So this is the one that me and you liked.
Right.
She was saying that, you know, that resolves the issue of why we were asked this.
Remedying
we don't need to make a
that
broader
conduct
statement.
and the means adopted to that end. End quote. So what Justice Barrett said is this. She said, I join parts 1 and 2B of the court's opinion. I agree states lack the power to enforce Section 3 against presidential candidates. That principle is sufficient to resolve this case, and I would decide no more than that. This suit was brought by Colorado voters under state law in state court. It does not require us to address the complicated question whether federal legislation is the exclusive vehicle through which Section 3 can be enforced. The majority's choice of a different path leaves the remaining justices with a choice of how to respond. In my judgment, this is not the time to amplify disagreement with stridency. The court has settled a politically charged issue in the volatile season of a presidential election. Particularly in this circumstance, writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. For present purposes, our differences are far less important than our unanimity. All 9 justices agree on the outcome of this case. That is the message Americans should take home. And
I think that's a good place to pause that.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think more, but I want to hear your thoughts on that segment.
Well, I think that most people will come away thinking, that this was a 9-0 decision. The court was obviously united on this, and you know it's done. But if you actually,
this is the darling Christian woman lady that they put in there.
Right. But if you actually read the different opinions, it's really a 5-4 decision. Let's be honest. That's really what it was.
Including Barrett with the liberals.
Right. And I think that it's interesting the way that Barrett puts it, in that she says the court should turn down the temperature, not up. You know,
saying that going further than answering the explicit question is unhelpful, basically.
Right. Although, you know, like I don't necessarily want my Supreme Court justices thinking about turning the temperature up or down. I think that I want them thinking about the facts of the case and what they really believe is fair. But I understand
turn the temperature up if the right decision was
sure.
demanded.
Yeah. But I was surprised by Barrett's take on this, and I credit her for her convictions, her courage of conviction.
I do. Yeah, I do too.
End quote. End quote. Then Justices Kagan, Jackson, and Sotomayor wrote a separate concurrence, all 3 of them together. And here's what they said in part. Theirs is much longer, so I'll just read you sort of the beginning section that explains what they had to say fairly briefly. They say, if it is not necessary to decide more to dispose of a case, then it is not necessary not to decide more, citing Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. That fundamental principle of judicial restraint.
There, Alan.
What's that?
What just happened there?
We got into abortion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, hey, if it's not worth talking about, it's not worth not talking about it. And you know what I'll cite from that? Your opinion on abortion. How's that feel?
Yeah. Nice.
That fundamental principle of judicial restraint is practically as old as our republic. Today, the courts depart from that vital principle, deciding not just this case, but challenges that might arise in the future. In this case, the court must decide whether Colorado may keep a presidential candidate off the ballot on the ground that he is an oath-breaking insurrectionist and thus disqualified from holding federal office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
It's worth noting that nowhere in their decision did they say, oh, by the way, we don't think he's an insurrectionist.
No, they didn't address that at all.
They could have just been like, hey, he didn't break an oath. Case closed. That would have been a lot easier decision.
That would have been a lot easier to say.
Allowing Colorado to do so would, we agree, create a chaotic state-by-state patchwork at odds with our nation's federalism principles. That is enough to resolve this case. Yet the majority goes further. Even though, quote, all 9 members of the court, end quote, agree that this independent and sufficient rationale resolves this case, 5 justices go on. They decide novel constitutional questions to insulate this court and petitioner from future controversy. Although only an individual state's action is at issue here, the majority opines on which federal actors can enforce Section 3 and how they must do so. The majority announces that a disqualification for insurrection can occur only when Congress enacts a particular kind of legislation, pursuant to Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. In doing so, the majority shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement. We cannot join an opinion that decides momentous and difficult issues unnecessarily, and we therefore concur only in the judgment. Now, what you need to know going forward.
Last little bit, sort of like her summary of it. I think that's worth hearing. She's
Okay.
a fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh, should I hear? Do you want to? No comment. We kind of talked about all that.
Yeah,
That was interesting to hear. So that was the 3
Concurring
liberal
opinion,
justices wrote that together.
Right.
It was a group project.
Is what this means is that Trump can remain on the ballots in all states. No state can remove him. In the future, if Congress wants to enforce Section 3 against a federal candidate, they'll have to do so with the particular type of legislation that the Supreme Court laid out.
Isn't that something?
Isn't that something?
It is something.
It was a long clip, but I still got my button.
We made it through.
Yeah.
We made it through.
I don't think you'd have to have any more thoughts because we interrupted a lot.
Yeah.
Let me play this clip from Bob Seska show with Buzz Burbank today. I think Buzz Burbank, this is on that subject. But I think Buzz Burbank may have provided us with a show title.
Do tell. I can't hear anything.
Why not?
I don't know.
Turn up your microphone.
No, I hear you. I can't hear.
It says stop sharing, so it's working. You can't hear that?
No.
Well,
maybe unpresent and then
stop
present
sharing.
again. Yeah, and start again. That was weird. I couldn't hear anything.
All right. Well,
I heard all the other stuff. The Jordan clip worked fine.
okay, shut up about it. I don't want to have to edit all this.
Oh, okay.
What the hell? Can you see that?
I can see that, yeah.
Could you see it before?
Yes, I could see it before. I just couldn't hear it.
All right.
I still don't have any audio. It's so fucking weird.
I hate you.
I know. I hate it too.
What?
I hate it
I was talking to. Play it off my phone.
Okay. That's really bizarre. Literally, the clip before it was the same thing.
Called a stroke and a poke, or in this case, a poke and a stroke. The poke is that we get poked by this ruling, and the next ruling we get stroked, because I think the next ruling they will refuse to grant Trump criminal immunity. I think. I think that's what they're going to do.
I got this for you.
Because I think the next ruling they will refuse to grant Trump.
No, you're not there. No.
And the next ruling we get.
Oh yeah, here.
And the next ruling we get stroked because
a poke and a stroke. I like it.
A stroke and a poke.
Well, I think we've been on record saying that on the show weeks ago.
Oh, we talk about stroking and poking all the time.
No, we said that we thought that the Supreme Court would rule for Trump in this case and against him in the immunity case. I think that made perfect sense. I still do.
Hey, that's unethical. I don't like. What are you implying?
Right. I mean, far be it for me to think this court is unethical.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not going to play this
clearly.
next clip. I have a clip about Nikki talking about the SCOTUS. She said, I think they should settle it. It's like, why do you think they should settle it? We have circuit courts. It was settled. Like,
yeah, it was already done.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll find out about that one. That's the other one. Okay. Can we try to solve this real quick?
Okay, sure. What do you got?
Well, I don't know if I can solve it, but I can at least identify the problem.
Okay.
So I was familiar with my American history and who wrote what and whose perspectives was what. And I've seen Hamilton, so I understand that Hamilton and Jefferson were mortal enemies. But in that book that we were both reading, or you think you finished it, The Constitution of Knowledge, there's a chapter where he discusses Jefferson wanting it to be an agrarian republic and landowner, property-based agrarian civilization, and slaves. And sorry, pepper in here. And Hamilton wanted like an international commercial superpower, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy in the book presents the question like, well, who won? Madison won, because Madison structured the Constitution to have those two theories compete against each other, with neither of them ever having the ability to have the final word on that. And then you couple that with the Federalist Papers, and I think it's Federalist 51 talks about the checks and balances, the three branches of government having equal power to keep each other in check.
Right.
Well, that goes all out the window when the three checks and balances are each cut in half by the two party systems, right? Like when all three of those checks and balances aren't actually checking and balancing, they've gone to their partisan sides. There is no checks and balance. It's just two sides, and they occupy the same three institutions. It completely undermines the institution.
Yeah, and I would say that where we've significantly lost that checks and balance is within the judiciary itself.
No, because okay, go ahead and say that. There's a cool theory that I heard on, so coupling that thought before about, who won, Madison won, with something I heard on the Reason Roundtable today. I want to play this. I want to hear what you're going to say, though. Why do you think the Supreme Court's failed the most on that?
Well, I think you expect the legislative
They should
branch.
be the ones that you can just trust no matter what at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you expect the legislative branch to be politicized. You expect the executive branch to be politicized.
Sure.
The
You'd hope
judiciary,
it always has been.
right? The judiciary is supposed to be the steady hand at the wheel, right? That's supposed to solve all these disputes, ethically and fairly, regardless of what political valence they may have. And we just haven't seen that in the last, 20 years.
Yeah.
At all.
No, I think you're right. Okay, well, couple that with this. So the guys on the Reason Roundtable just start talking about the Chevron doctrine out of nowhere. I was like, huh? He's going somewhere.
Okay. I'm familiar with this. I've heard that term. I don't.
Here, let me start it over. I didn't present. Sorry. You can hear it, all right?
No, I can't hear.
Okay, it's on your end then.
Okay.
It's got to be.
I didn't change anything.
Okay.
I literally could hear the Georgia.
I get it, but can you look at your settings because something happened? Yeah, I haven't changed anything either. Yeah.
No, it's all the correct inputs and outputs, and I can hear you just fine. I don't know why I can't hear this anymore.
This was a particularly bad case of somebody being cut in half.
See, I can hear that just fine.
It's funny. I just happened to hit that button, but that's the exact
That's what's happening. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the bottom of this. Settings, playback speed, subtitles, quality. I've got no options there. Open with. There's no options with open with.
I wonder if it has something to do with the way you're recording, so that it doesn't have the garbled audio at the front. Maybe
I didn't change anything.
You didn't change it. Okay.
I just played the song off the soundboard.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they're. I mean, the only thing I can think of is closing the call, which is going to close the recording, which is going to make posting this fucking terrible.
Right. It's kind of.
Is there anything in your settings that you can change? Can you just like change it from something to back to this?
Yep. Let me do that. We'll do. Okay, and then change it to that. Does that? Okay. I adjusted the headphone.
Can you hear it? You can't hear anything.
No, I can't hear it still. Is it playing?
Yeah, it was the whole time. Yeah,
I couldn't hear it.
Stop presenting. Start presenting. I can close this maybe and see if that. Whoa. Okay, well that worked.
What if I try to present it and see what that looks like?
Yeah, we could try that. Let me do this first though.
Okay.
Oh, it's down here. Okay. Let me try presenting. It's weird it reformatted did it reformat your window differently than before?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. Like we're down at the bottom now, right? Was it over on the side for you before?
Well, I have it. Oh, jeez. Wow, what the hell happened?
Let me check.
Now
Oh, yeah,
it has the thing in the middle. I'm on the
Yeah.
bottom. It's
Yeah, same.
usually I
On the
usually can
side.
see the big window is
So what
the
Chevron
whatever
deference does is it basically says
I can hear that.
when
I can hear that.
So they like updated something with the presentation while we were doing this, right? Like they
Apparently, yeah, because it was working perfectly before. So,
all right.
We're good.
11, 40, 50. 55. 212. 212. I'm just trying to write down the time that we start talking, but by the time I write it down, the number keeps 21207. God damn it. Alan 21210. Are you there?
I'm here. 21210.
Do you get the joke?
Yes, I do.
I'm trying to write down the timestamp.
I know.
The number
Keeps
keeps
moving.
changing.
I was trying to be quiet so it wouldn't have more shit for you to edit out. But yes,
When I do really dumb shit like that, please assume I'm joking.
Okay.
You think I'm like, you know what? I didn't do it long enough, right? Okay.
That's what it was.
35. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that was fun.
Mhm.
Hey, let me play this thing about Chevron vast deference.
So what Chevron deference does is it basically says that when courts are ruling on the government agency interpretations of the law, courts have to accept the government agency's interpretation if that interpretation is reasonable. And reasonable is a very that casts a very wide net, right? There's a lot of things that are sort of like, that seems reasonable enough. That doesn't seem completely bonkers crazy. And so what that does is it incentivizes the administrative branch, the executive branch, and the agencies to create all of these to go far beyond the text of the statutes that govern them, and to do a bunch of stuff, and then to present to courts. Well, here is a reasonable interpretation, and then the court's hands are tied. And then
is he going through too fast through this? Like, do you think everybody's tracking? Me and you just had a lot of technical issues. I feel like our head's not in the game on this clip. Like
a little bit, but I kind of am understanding where he's going with that. So if the issue hasn't already been addressed by Congress in some sort of legislation, but the issue has been dealt
if
with.
it's something that like the DEA is
Right.
allowed to make a rule about, if it gets brought before a judge, they just have to say, well, here's a reasonable interpretation of this.
Right.
And they have lawyers, so they write ways to do that. And all of the incentives are towards law and our rule of order being sort of hijacked by the executive branch because of that, and power being abdicated by Congress. And then you combine that with each of the three chambers of our government is just cut in half by the two-party system. The judges, like you said, are completely, if not partisan, questionable, right? Like, and that's the one that you should have like no doubt. You're supposed to have faith in. You're supposed to get mad at it being like, oh, your argument's so airtight, you know?
Right. Even if you disagree, you're supposed to respect the opinion. Yeah.
Slightly, a little bit more time on this clip.
Okay.
In addition, because the executive branch has an incentive to do more and to sort of take on more, Congress has less of an incentive to solve those problems and to do the business of democracy and to actually sort of say, here's what we're going to, here is what the law says and here's what we're going to do.
So the executive branch can make a law that disempowers the legislator and disincentivizes Congress from taking action, but they're still there. So they become culture warriors, which then affects the population or the voting population, right?
Absolutely.
Like
And
that's kind of the formula of how we got here.
kind of is does seem like that's how we got here. Yes. Where you have a completely dysfunctional legislature that doesn't, apparently doesn't care to actually legislate.
They're going to have a hearing. They're going to hear a case about the Chevron doctrine this year. And I had not, because the way it's being presented is we're going to have to now count on judges to make decisions on things that are too technical for a judge to be able to understand.
Mhm.
If you can't have legal experts from that industry say this is reasonable, let's do this. Like, because that's the other side of that, right? Is a judge has to make those decisions. So that's the case. That's the argument I've always heard, but that argument makes a lot of sense. Like, it disincentivizes the actual function of our government. Which one of those trade-offs do you like more?
Yeah, I don't like that we allow Congress to abdicate its authority or power.
This might change that.
It might change that,
Yeah,
but
right.
I don't have a lot of confidence that it will.
That's a good point. Well, would ranked choice fix all of this?
I am not sure about ranked choice. I've read things on both sides of that, and I don't know. I think it would.
It would get rid of runoffs. We wouldn't have to have expensive runoff elections.
True. My instincts is to say that it would be an improvement. However,
it kept us from having a Palin.
Yeah. However, I think that if you look at places where ranked choice has been used, like Ireland, places like that, there have been pros and cons to it.
Maine and Rhode Island use it.
I know that. Yeah. I know Maine. I didn't know Rhode Island, but
I made up Rhode Island. It's another New England state.
I know Maine because Michael Mara talked about it when
okay.
he was voting, but I didn't know. I didn't know about Rhode Island.
And cities like New York does it. I think there's like 8 cities that do it.
I like the concept. I think it should be better, but I don't know if there's.
So there was a big deal made. It's a big deal. It's my deal, Wade. There was a big deal made about these people voting none of the above, uncommitted against Biden. Well, like you wouldn't have to do that if you could rank choice,
right?
You could say, "Wow, look at all these second place votes Biden got," right?
Mm-hmm. And then it would still be a clear, winner to the election.
I mean, and also, it's kind of fun to do a protest vote, but over time, you're like, hey, I'm kind of tired of losing all the time,
right.
or not feeling like my voice mattered.
Right.
But ranked choice, you're like, well, I still got heard.
Yeah, I think, like I said, generally speaking, the concept appeals to me. I just don't know that I've seen enough data to say that it really is a better system or not.
What about open primaries?
So that way, it doesn't matter what you're registered to vote as, you can vote.
Right. It would prevent like echo chambers from really taking hold, right? Like it would dilute a cult.
That's interesting. So then
you would make the opposite argument that like actually the party should have even more control over who their candidate is, and half the reason we got Trump is because we let all these fucking yokels in Pennsylvania.
So that would mean that Democrat voters could kick Trump off the ballot by voting for Nikki Haley.
No. Republicans could. Oh wait, then the first one in the primaries, yes. Yeah, open primaries, yeah.
Right. That would be interesting. I think that would be.
The thing is, the parties are holding their primaries, and so it's not fair to force the party to go fuck yourself. You represent the people or not? Right. Okay. Well, did we solve it?
I think we got close. Right. We were edging.
Oh, me and the boys are doing that. I heard. Alex says, Alan edging. It's down here somewhere.
Come pig.
No, not that one.
I'm gonna lean towards Bussy. Gawk. Me and the boys are edging.
Yeah. I found it.
Want to see my dick?
It's right next to that one.
Want to see my dick?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh.
That is a beautiful cock.
Thanks, Alan. Reminded me. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Let's do a couple of conspiracies.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to play this one because this is a story nobody fucking talks about, and I'm glad the conspiracy web started picking up on it.
While at a private farm in Texas, she got into her Tesla.
Mitch McConnell's wife's sister.
She makes of the cheese.
Yes, my sister makes of the cheese. Okay. All right.
The door, put her seatbelt on, put the key in the ignition, put it into reverse, and reversed backwards into a pond about 15 to 20 feet deep where she drowned. Who? Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, full-blown member of the Chinese Communist Party, with whom, along with Mitch McConnell, benefited from their close ties to the CCP military-industrial complex. Apparently there's a video. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's going around. And this happened about 6 days ago and nobody really talked about it. Angela Chow is a highly respected professional and the youngest of 6 daughters. She served as the CEO of Foremost Group, a well-known company based in New York that specializes in dry bulk shipping, calling it a vehicular collision with a pond. going backwards in a Tesla. Electric car with electric chips that can be hacked, but I digress. She also served on the leading group of the Bank of China and is an overseer of the China's state.
Not gonna lie, my dumb ass was like, oh, that's why it being a Tesla.
That's why it matters.
All cars can be hacked. They hacked a guy's Jeep, remember? It's
I
like
do.
a Jeep Commander in like 2017.
Shipbuilding partnership. Now they're being pretty hush-hush about this. They're not naming the person of the ranch who owned the pond to which she backed her Tesla into, so you don't know whose ranch or whose pond it necessarily belongs to. Also not super forthcoming with the video, and it really didn't trend and really didn't get talked about. Remember when this happened? Was it?
That's wild, right? Oh, wait, it was the same weekend he froze?
Was an intentional consequence of being a longtime member of the CCP, or was it simply an accident? While
it wasn't coincidental.
I mean, I hadn't heard the story. I do question her when she says that that she put the key in the ignition of the Tesla, because I've been in Teslas and you don't put keys.
Oh, you know what? Everything else you say. Where is it? No. We'll save it because I need to use it after.
We have a better one? Okay.
Yes, the Texas fires.
Let's go. Oh, is it blue roofs again?
No, they should have blue roofs of the Texas fire.
I have seen some blue
around it. I love how people, when they argue for the laser thing, they're like, didn't you see? And like, they used a laser in a test in the Red Sea. It's like, yeah. And they're like, and Israel's working on a laser dome so that they can deflect missiles. It's like, yeah, working on. So you're saying these two people who like all the incentives are towards them having this, or someone's just burning houses for the insurance reasons. Okay.
Perfect. Makes perfect sense.
So we all know what happened with Maui, and now there is a massive wildfire in Texas. And we also know
this is Gish galloping, right? It's like, so we all know about what happened in Maui.
We all agree on these.
Real fact, what happened in Texas, and we all know
they love predictive programming because
we all know predictive programming. So that's where they set you up with movies talking about things, just to all that, so they hired a director, a casting agent, a wardrobe,
right.
Craft services. They get an ad department, marketing. They put billboards on the side of buildings for predictive programming.
They think we're all idiots. However, Elon Musk posted this on Twitter 13 days prior to the fire starting.
It's literally the X logo in the burnt orange
of
color of the University of Texas.
Yes.
So yes, it's the X logo. And remember, he does that like synthwave, like pink or purple or whatever it is, like hot neon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the logo. So in this case, it's University of Texas puke burnt orange in the shape of Texas. Like, okay,
yeah, it's like a neon light almost.
Like you just don't know what you're talking about.
A picture of the state of Texas outlined in what looks like laser beams with flames. 13 days prior.
She's confusing the fact that when I think of burnt orange, I want to light it on fire. There were no flames.
To the fire starting. If you think this is a coincidence, please explain this to me. Why would Elon Musk post this 13 days beforehand?
Why don't you explain it to me why you think that it's something?
Right.
I suspect this is just another way for them to land grab and destroy our food supply.
So he posted it. Why? Wait, hold on. Can you go back to why he would have ever done? So here's me and the Illuminati are going to burn down your property and buy the land. So we're going to taunt you with it 13 days beforehand.
We want to make sure we give you a heads up first before we do the thing. Yeah.
Dude, what's going to happen when these people find Nostradamus? Wait until TikTok finds Nostradamus, dude.
So we all know what happened with Maui. And now
we all know.
Yeah, we all know. Oh, well, that's it.
Wackadoo.
I did it backwards.
That's fucking retarded.
I'm not gonna ask you a question. That was a long enough half. I'll see you in a little bit. I gotta get a food.
Yeah, see you on the B side.
All right, bye. What? Are you here too?
Yeah, we came back at the same time. How about that? How about
We
that?
sat down at the exact same time. Guys, you got to join the Patreon, and you could see cool things like us sitting down at the same time.
It's like synchronized.
Yeah,
Synchronized
sitting.
sitting.
Oh, we already have a show title, Strokin' and Pokin', man. You
Right.
don't pass on Strokin' and Pokin'.
You really don't. I mean, that's always a winner.
Yeah, wiener.
Stroking and Pokin'.
Thanks, Buzz. Friend of the show, Buzz Burbank.
Oh god. Okay.
Don't take your time. You were looking at the TV.
It was just they're doing the whole panel thing about the Super Tuesday. Nothing surprising is happening. I mean,
Trump won everything. Nikki didn't win anything, right? She won DC. That was the most. That's worse than losing, right?
She has won a few counties or whatever where she's gotten some delegates, but pretty much it's been all Trump on the Republican side. Yes.
So I mean, it still comes down to winning the state, right?
Yeah, well, it's winning the state, but also in most states or a lot of states, if you win,
can she win with a majority of delegates but not take a single state? Is that like electorally possible?
I don't think that's electorally possible. Okay. You get so many for winning the state.
Oh, you get the supers,
right? But you get like 3 per congressional district in a lot of states. So, like, if you win a certain congressional district but you lose a state, you still get 3 delegates. But the primary amount of delegates is going to go to the winner takes all kind of thing. So,
got it.
Yeah.
I knew that the whole time I'd do this show with you.
Right.
Right. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
Hey, I got a question that's not related to anything before we get to the other half.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
Do you think you could improve social media by next to the like button? Still give everybody all those features, but new bonus feature. How truthful is it? Like, you give it a truthful up or down?
Oh.
How would that be hacked?
Somebody would surely find a way to troll on that, right? We'd still get boating with boat face.
You'd somehow get ratioed.
Right.
It could be a new version of being ratioed.
Right. I mean, X is trying to do that, right? With the community.
I guess that's a version of it. But I mean, if Instagram had that for like, see, but that's the thing. It goes against their principle. Like, originally it was like, what, a bourbon ranking app?
Something like that, yeah.
So it's not, it's not supposed to be how we share fucking.
Right.
It's not
how we perceive the rest of the world.
It's supposed to. Remember when it was just hipster pictures with all the filters?
Right.
Like, your first impression was like in 2011, you're like, this is for cool millennials. Remember when young millennials were like the Gen Zs of now?
Yes, I do. And they're just taking pictures of their dinner and posting it,
I loved the moment when they got old enough for me to be like, you understand I'm an older millennial. We're the same. Like, I could actually like help you through the next 5 years of your life. And they started listening to me.
I've been here a while. I know what's going on.
That's Joe Biden's new message. Actually, that's our last clip of the show.
Okay.
Coming from a source you would not expect. Stick around, find out. Can we talk about the Trump cult?
What?
All right. So we like to play these man on the street ones, but again, we don't like to overindulge in them because at some point it
becomes gratuitous. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be surprised if there was a revolution.
This lady was exceptional. She says, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a revolution if Biden won again.
What does that look like to you?
Total mayhem. But I think it's going to be the only choice that some people see.
When I first heard this, I thought it was the other way around. Like, Trump people are going to like revolt.
Mm-hmm.
No, excuse me. I heard it was like, we'll see total mayhem if Biden wins again. America will fall apart. But she's explicitly saying there's going to be a violent revolution if Trump doesn't win the election.
And she's saying it unironically, straight-faced, like she really 100% believes it and is okay with that as her
in a normal world, we would say, of course, this doesn't represent the typical Trump voter. Mm-hmm. And while I still feel comfortable saying that,
does represent some.
More than some, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a lot.
More than zero.
Okay.
They say Joe Biden wins the White House again. You don't believe that he actually does. How does Trump come into power then?
It may be up to us.
Is that a physical takeover of the White House?
Could be. And it wouldn't just be the White House, it would be the country.
The Pentagon?
Sure.
And you think that human life...
Okay, this is just Debbie, though.
Right.
Like, let's not forget, like, America saw this, but like the 30 people in her town are like, holy fuck, Debbie went to the Trump rally and fucking said what she said so far.
Yeah, I mean, she looks like a retired school teacher, to be honest. Like she's just your average person.
Yeah, lunch lady, baby.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe special ed.
It could be a consequence of
It
that.
could be. It's called collateral damage and the cost of war.
Okay, maybe not special ed, but you know.
Collateral damage.
Yeah. That's actually, I missed that point because I was thinking about my analogy. Could you want to elaborate on that, Alan?
I mean, so she's using
to hear that.
She's using war terminology to discuss politics. The whole point of politics is to avoid violence, but that seems lost on some people currently.
You know, I'm glad you said it that way. Like that's the entire point of this. Like
Yes.
it's like the Olympics, right? Like we're not going to go to war anymore. We're just going to throw javelins. Isn't that fun? Look at
We're
how
gonna
far you
swim.
get.
See who swims faster. That'll be fun.
Look at that Jamaican run. You know what? When I say it like that, it sounds different, doesn't it?
That sounds a little different. Yes.
Well, I don't have clips of me saying things like this.
Gay N-word.
Whoa, Alan.
Hey, spicy.
All right, Alan's looking for a job. I shouldn't be
Spicy.
doing this. Okay, Alan. You said that one voluntarily too.
I did.
I was done. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Don't mention you do a podcast, not until you get hired. Unless you want to be. Here's how you mention yourself in the interview that you do the podcast. You say, "I'm the voice of reason with my my crazy right-wing culture warrior co-host." And then when they listen, they'll be like, "Yeah." And then you can send them this clip and be like, "He has all these AI sounds of me saying stuff."
NIG.
Whoa, wow.
Ooh, hey now.
That's a good looking cock.
Of course, that wasn't you.
Cum pig.
Cum pig's my favorite. I love cum pig so much. It's your tone.
Cum pig.
Almost whimsical.
It really is.
All right.
It really
Like, what
is.
could that be? Like, oh, it's not
Cum pig.
Okay. All right. Okay. So one more of these Trump supporters. This lady's she's a gem.
Okay, Trump 24 or before. What does that mean to you?
He's already president. He's already president. He's our president.
Meaning Donald Trump is president now.
He's president now. I believe he is.
But how would that work? Because Joe Biden has been the president, right?
Obama's been the president. Obama said that he would like to run a third term if he could sit in his basement and call the shots, and that's exactly what he's doing.
I like that Trump says things that they're like, you can't take him literally. But Obama says one fucking joke about like how, yeah, I'd love to still be president. And they're like, Biden's, well, hold on though. It's not a congruent theory. Just wait.
But you just said that it's Obama's third term, but also that Trump is president.
He's calling the shots at all this mess that's going on right now and all the disasters that he's caused. Yeah.
But how is Obama calling the shots if Trump is still president?
Obama is sitting back and telling Biden.
It's so fun. It's so fun to watch. Like it's like you know when Fred Flintstone starts running, but he hasn't taken off yet.
Yeah,
it's like it's just the gears are going. She's coming up with new stuff. This must be exhilarating for her.
I mean,
you
can hear it in the exhale before she
Yeah, it's
responds
like,
to that.
all
That's
right.
that's the cognitive bias happening real time. That's what's happening right there.
They literally put people under an MRI and watch the regions you would expect to light up when you come up with something that upsets you because it shakes your worldview, and then it watches the reward center light up as you come up with a creative way to keep your existing worldview. Yes.
What to do?
Well, what is Biden if he's not the president?
He's a bumbling fool right now.
Oh.
But why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden's not president?
Say that again.
Why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden wasn't president? Okay, Trump 24 or before.
Population is retarded.
Just that silence. She can't process her own arguments. She's like, wait, Trump's still president, but really it's Obama in his basement.
Bad replicant head blows. Yeah. Okay, it's becoming gratuitous. Yeah, let's you know what? Let's pick on someone our own size, Alan.
Okay.
6'3", 215 pounds. We're in the same weight range. Let's do Trump. He had a few glitches. Speaking of glitches and brain freezes, he has not had a good weekend. I would say we've had a few of these where we've been like, look at what he did over the weekend. This was the biggest sloppy Don. This was the sloppy Don weekend. It might progress. There are people saying he has aphasia.
Oof.
All right, let's hear
People are pouring over. It's sort of known as Steak Mountain, Steak Kill, Snake. It's snakes. A lot of snakes. I think they're rattlesnakes.
You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't label this clip right. This clip should be called me practicing my saxophone, just moving my fingers around until I find the note I'm looking for.
The rattlesnakes and the rough terrain and the steepness, they said nobody's coming. The people are coming over by the thousands.
Sorry. Let me start it over.
People are pouring over. It's sort of known as Steak Mountain, State Kill, Snake. It's snakes. A lot of snakes. I think they're rattlesnakes. Between the rattlesnakes and the rough terrain and the steepness, they said nobody's coming. The people are coming over by the thousands.
It's a Steak Hill.
Snake. And you know what they say about snakes is there's people there and it's rough terrain and
Big hill.
Yeah.
They're probably rattlesnakes, I think.
It's the greatest hill. I've seen bigger hills. I made a hill once when I was a kid. It was a lot better than this hill. But I called that hill Steak Hill. That's why I said that earlier.
Yeah.
This one's Snake Hill. It's similar but smaller.
Used to climb up it in the snow and have steak on top of it for
On
fun.
top of it, smoky.
Yeah.
So he's back on that languages thing. He does this thing where like he fucks up on something and then he keeps bringing it up, like the cognitive test. Like no one in the world should be like, by the way, I've taken a few cognitive tests, pretty good at it. It's like, hey, why were you
man, woman, person, camera?
Was
like
there
TV?
Was there a reason, or did you hold on? Why did you have to take a cognitive test? Also, when he came up with all his list of shit, we've talked about it on this. When he came up with his list of shit in his rally, where he talks about I did so great on this test. It had this math portion and he came with like an elaborative subtraction and then like a PEMDAS formula, right?
Right.
What do they call those? I don't remember this, but there's multiplication, division, and all this, right? And he's like, most people can't do it. Yeah, if you look up the standardized one, we talked about it here on the show. It's called the MOCA, the Montreal something cognitive assessment.
Yeah.
And it's just like, here's a pattern of 7, predict the next number, or tell us what 7. Like this thing is standardized. Like they don't expect you to study for it. They expect it to be like you don't go home and practice for it. It's standardized. It's literally the same sheet always given.
Yeah, I took the Wonderlic test last week for a job interview. And there's literally questions. It's like, okay, you have a sequence 7, 14, 21, 28. What comes next? It's like,
right. But what he described is still more advanced than even the Wonderlic.
Sure. Right.
My Wonderlic score is pretty good. I was pretty proud of myself. Not the point, Alan.
What'd you get?
I don't remember, but I'll talk about it offline. I don't want to say the wrong number. They say 11's good, right, Alan? If he's telling the truth, where he comes up with that whole like advanced math formula, and if he's not lying that's the one, then he had like a really advanced cognitive test that they only give you when they're like, we know something's wrong, we need to give him this one. So which one is it, Donald?
This guy's clearly got some issues. We need to figure out what's going on here.
So they have this whole thing that they make up where anybody on outside of the MAGA cult says anything critical of Trump, they're like, oh, you're talking about this. You must have Trump derangement syndrome. No, I'm bringing that up because he talked about it at a rally recently. I don't talk about old shit like that, except, unless he says things like magnified fortune, in which case, like, how do you not take advantage of saying magnified?
That was fun. That was fun. I'll never forget that.
Magnified fortune.
But that's a good example of it too, because he's like, magnified, it's like a fancy blah blah blah. He just leans into it. So he brought back up the whole last week we had a clip of him talking about them speaking languages that they've never heard of before.
Never even heard of.
Yeah.
Nobody
So
knows
he brought
these
that up
languages.
again. He brought this up again yesterday.
We have languages that are like from the planet Mars. Nobody knows how to, speak it. They put the students in the place of our students, like in New York City. We have these wonderful students. They're going to school. All of a sudden, they no longer have a seat. They're no longer invited to the school. We're putting migrants in who don't speak the language. They have no idea what the teacher's saying. They're coming from.
They're from Mars.
They're speaking languages from Mars.
I'm pretty sure it's called Spanish, Alan.
And they just took away their chairs. The students that were already going there, they can't. There's no
So
place
is that
for
a
them
thing
anymore.
that's like a reality where it's like, hey, we don't have so much room in this classroom. We got to make sure the migrants out on the street doing God knows what. Tell your kid to stay home, or he's made that up.
I mean, I've never read any reporting that said that.
You think that the right would latch onto that?
You would think so, definitely.
Right.
I do note that he got a little bit of a laugh when he said the whole
Yeah.
thing about the languages.
Yeah,
I do
that's sad,
feel well, it is, but also I feel like he is a bit like a stand-up comedian in some ways
Don't
where
give it that.
no, maybe he's not quite bright enough for that, but he does hear the laugh and remembers it. And I think when he goes back to the well and
I
repeats
understand.
things,
You know what? He is bright enough for it. I
Right.
just don't think he's a good comic. Is what I
no,
was
no, not that. But when he gets a reaction, then he
Yeah.
knows, oh, that's staying in the act, essentially.
Right.
And so he just keeps peddling that same shit.
He's
build
just
the
working
wall.
out bits.
Exactly.
And then he's going to do his special on
Yes.
the election.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
We've tiptoed around it. You fucking nailed it. That's a fucking thing, Alan.
It seems like that's what's happening here. Yes.
I've never heard anybody say it that way before, though.
All right, well, let's go on Brighto's show and talk about it.
We'll tell him that. Okay, I'll tell
him.
Okay. Here's a great clip of him. This is sort of like the highlight reel of Sloppy Don from the weekend.
Okay.
I don't want to have to listen to this Biden aide give the
preamble.
Yeah.
He's running against.
And Putin, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word today. You heard that. Nuclear. Maduro.
Hey, why was he talking about Obama?
That's weird. Yeah, that's yeah. Wrong
Maduro.
president.
He's talking about Venezuela.
Well, it's because like that lady told us, Obama's clearly running the administration from his basement. So I mean, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Fuck. You know what? Really, the reality is these people are hearing words that they like. They're
Yes.
like, yeah, Obama didn't bother me none. I don't care if he said it wrong.
Right.
I mean, that was his old hit, right?
Yeah.
He's going back to the greatest hits. That's off the first album.
Right.
This is something he says about Venezuela.
Venezuela, it's unbelievable. The deep state.
Venezuela.
We will expel the warmongers.
Wallmongers.
I think he meant to say the Wall Mongolians. Chinese plant.
Ding, boom.
Can't rewind this. Describe to the audience what just happened. Ding, boom.
He like drew like a line with his hand and then boom went up. Like he's kicking
So-
people out or something.
So if you're watching it
Yeah.
from the audience, as you see in the camera perspective, join trumpgags.com to join the Patreon.
Yes.
He made a line going from his left to his right, a line going down, like he's drawing a graph going down. And then he's going to say, boom, that's me. And it spikes straight up. I don't know what he's talking about. Stock market, whatever, right? He's saying things were going ding, boom, me. Okay. But he did it the way you would look at a graph from your perspective. He's
Right.
giving this speech to an audience, and this is nothing to fucking dwell on, but it caught me. And I was like, you know what? I have a podcast. I'll fucking say that. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't think about the way his audience is reacting to his method, but he
Right.
only does that for himself. In this instance, it's him realizing, or it's him not realizing that he's just all about me from my perspective. Boom. Like that's not nothing. Okay. Like it's not worth talking about. But it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. You are correct. It's
This is me. I hear. Bing. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
What?
If that didn't have the music in the background, that would be in the show sheet.
Repeat. Oh.
And you should see it. It looked like he just like someone unplugged the remote. He just went, oh. So he got pulled out of the Matrix.
Many of them, I purposely mix up like a name like Bird Brain. You know who Bird Brain is, right, Nikki? With Nancy Pelosi. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer admired, respected, or listened to on the world stage.
It's impossible.
Respected.
You saw that? I was like, did he say respected?
He said we're not respected on the world stage.
I don't care. Okay, I got this. It would be one thing when people are like, Biden's old and this other guy's 20 years younger. And like, look, by all accounts, Donald Trump as an individual is one of the quickest witted. His impulses have served him well.
Yes.
And I could imagine that maybe at some point in his life being something good for us. But you can't talk about how bad Brandon is and have shit like this happening and even care about one of them being senile. And then when you factor on top of that his impulsivity and the fact that, like, look, whether it's from his years of British Sudafed abuse or when he was in Walter Reed and they pumped him. He talked about it's like they put steroids. No, people described what somehow we know that he was given a shitload of steroids while he was there. And they were the type of steroids when you're on death's door, they make you feel like I'm a Superman right now. Everything's fine, you know,
Right.
like a big B12 shot in the sports movies or whatever.
Sure,
right?
sure. Yes.
Like, I don't know, maybe some of that shit loosed some shit up in his brain. There are people that are saying he has something aphasia, a type of aphasia, which anybody who's, I mean, part of our income comes from talking into a hot microphone, right?
Sure.
Like anybody who's talked into a microphone at any point for any type of a career is terrified of aphasia. Fluent aphasia is what's called fluent aphasia.
Yeah, I remember famously there was that case of that news anchor lady.
Oh my God, Alan, hold on.
That
Is
was
it this one? Because Mima sent this in coincidentally, and I once I saw that we were kind of going in this direction with the show, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna put this down here.
I think this is
to
it.
say their final goodbyes to this fallen Louisville police officer, D.D. Megadoodoo. I'm sorry, Man.
I mean, it's funny, but also it is terrifying. To your point.
Deirdre Mengado.
Yeah.
D.D.
Megadoodoo.
Megadoodoo.
Hey, that's your Instagram handle.
It is. Oh, I got to explain that to Mima. I'm like, okay, so right now it's Dusty Mini Doodoo.
Right.
But okay, so going way back in time, I was Dusty Boo Boo off of Honey Boo Boo. Ha
Right.
ha ha. Honey Boo Boo was so hot in 2011.
Oh yeah.
Not
Wait, hold.
no.
Phrasing. You might.
It's got to move on.
Okay.
It was all the rage. So I was Dusty Boo Boo. God damn it. James. And then I bought a mini. Oh no! And then I saw this, and I changed it from Dusty Boo Boo to Dusty Megadoodoo.
Megadoodoo.
And when I
Yes.
bought my mini, someone's like, "You should be Dusty Mini Doodoo." So
Right. The evolution of your.
you should follow that Instagram account in case we ever get flagged for naming shows Strokin and Pokin. Okay. Do we have a clip? Is that the clip? Oh, that's. Do you want to hear it again?
Goodoo to say their final goodbyes to this fallen Louisville police officer, D.D. Megadoodoo.
Never gets old.
It doesn't ever get old.
Never.
I've probably seen that 100 times easily.
Easily. Yeah.
All right. Let me play this clip. This is the intolerable Jimmy Kimmel doing a segment called Debate and Switch. So they go up to Trump supporters, man on the street style, and well, you'll get it.
Accusations that Joe Biden cheated on his wife with a porn star after his son was born. And there's actually a paper trail showing he paid the sex worker $130,000 to keep quiet about it.
Who did that? Joe
Biden.
And he was making, I think, less than $100,000 a year at that time
That's
as
right.
a congressman. A senator. Now, how does he do that?
You tell me. Would you
You're a
vote for
reporter.
someone that
Of course not.
Okay. So Trump did do that.
Trump had a fling with Stormy
No edit.
Daniels.
And paid her $130,000.
Hush money, yes.
And you're voting for him.
I am. My father had affairs too, and I still respect him.
Little things in this that make me think they're not actors.
Yeah. No, I don't think that was an actor at all. I think that.
Haters will say it's fake.
How do you feel about Joe Biden using his bone spurs to dodge the Vietnam draft?
Joe Biden has a problem. He isn't an American. He isn't a patriot.
I'm sorry. I asked you, I said Biden and I meant Trump. So those were things that.
Oh, Trump?
Trump, yes. Can I ask you the question again with
Yes,
the right
you may.
name? I'm so sorry. How do you feel about Donald Trump using his bone spurs to dodge the Vietnam draft?
My brother-in-law had flat feet. So I'm sure you cannot go into a military zone, a Vietnam zone, or any of the other zones with bad feet.
Sure.
You just can't do the job.
brother.
I agree.
And it actually impacts the other soldiers, puts them in danger.
Yeah.
So no.
Sorry, I didn't mean to play
That's so funny. I'd taken another test last week for this interview.
Oh, Alan's so smart.
No,
The
I take
podcast.
this test where essentially it rates your honesty level, and so it'll
Oh.
ask you a question in a certain light that makes it seem positive, and then it'll ask you basically the same question, but the way the question is worded, it'll seem like in a negative light, and it tracks. So if you say
It clumps your similar answers.
right, so if you say I strongly agree with this statement, but then I disagree with the next statement, even though they're really the same statement, just put in different perspectives.
Right.
Then you're trying to answer the way you think they want you to answer the test.
Did you know that going in or coming out?
I did. I used to administer tests like that back in the day, so I'm familiar with it.
These sound hackable. If you're a psychopath like me, you just figure out how to lie appropriately.
Right. That's what you gotta do.
Natasha, don't listen to this.
They say, always trying to demean, well, MAGA really represents 48% of the Republican Party. No, it represents
Is 48% of half the population.
96%.
Less than half, a third.
And maybe 100%. We're getting rid of the Romneys of the world. We want to get
Why is his face that color? Seriously. Like, look at his hand and then look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
bizarre.
nighttime indoors.
Romneys and those out. And they say, oh,
his hand. Look at his face. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's quite the difference there.
All right. I got one where did you notice he says, and they say?
Yes, I did.
That's one of the great lines. I think a lot of people have, God damn it. I just did it. I was trying to say that I think a lot of the populations, many people have started using that since Donald Trump started saying, and they say a lot of people are saying, but like, that's his thing to be like, a lot of people are saying, and then you can just say whatever. Because it's, I didn't say everyone. I'm not saying a majority. Just a lot of people are saying.
A lot of people. There's people out there saying, you can say anything after that.
nuclear word today. You heard that. Nuclear. He's starting to talk nuclear weapons today.
I already did this. This is that's the Obama one. Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Disregard that, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about. We already have that. Oh, hey, guess what? We're done with the Trump cult.
Oh, all right. Let's go.
Let's get into best of the right. This is a Florida's considering the bill that would outlaw any teacher training that says that racism was systemic or inherent to U.S. history. Here's Representative Robert Alex Andrade, defending the bill.
Saying that slavery benefited or was good or had any positive side effects. There is only one way to teach about slavery in Florida, and that is that it was evil. But if we can't have an honest discussion and say that some slaves were paid for their work and were able to actually get a portion of payment that slave owners received for their labor, then we're afraid of teaching accurate history.
Can I, how you always tell me, like, can I say what you said differently?
Yes, yeah.
I think this is what he's talking about. Hey, turns out if you look at it from an accounting ledger, tons of slaves. Turns out, couple employees. Wow. How about that? We should definitely, you don't get to still call them slaves when you pay them for their job. That's,
you have to understand the nuance here. We can't just, it wasn't all bad. I'm just saying there were people that actually benefited from this system.
Yeah.
Jesus
a
Christ.
little bit. Yeah. All right. Remember that guy, Ken Buck? He's not running anymore. Ken Buck, he likes to fuck, but not if Donald Trump says to suck.
There are a lot of things that went into the decision, but really we're at a time in American politics that I am not going to lie on behalf of my presidential candidate, on behalf of my party. And I'm very sad that others in my party have taken the position that as long as we get the White House, it doesn't really matter what we say.
No, you cannot do that, Donald.
I like to hear him say it. It just sucks that all the good speeches come from people leaving.
They're quitting, right? Yeah, exactly. Give me my best speech on the way out the door.
This guy, so they talked to a guy today as we're recording a Super Tuesday. This is a Super Tuesday voter man on the street interview. He doesn't like Nikki Haley because he likes balls. Just tell me if that sounds like I heard him say it. He likes balls.
What do you think of Nikki Haley? Did you ever consider her?
What I got to say, you don't really want to put it on.
Let me hear it.
Well, a woman's not going to be a good president. She don't have no balls to scratch. She's just going to scratch her head. All a woman's good for in my book is having babies and taking care of the house, but that's the old thing, but I'm old school.
So
I like balls.
I mean, if that's your opinion, you might really enjoy Afghanistan. Check it out. It might be for you. Might be for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's great military equipment there.
I heard they have nice weather. It's nice and sunny all the time.
You into rock climbing? Do you like mountain climbing?
How do you feel about ghosts?
Okay. I've got a clip about tiny face Charlie Kirk.
Oh, fun.
This is actually an old clip that I actually meant to play a while ago. It was him on his podcast, but then this clip is Candace Owens playing his clip on his podcast and just being like, oh man, I can get a half a point if you're going to get a whole point.
I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
What he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman.
And then she said this.
I had black friends growing up.
Oh, wait, no, that was Nikki. So Candace Owens has this like smug, undeserved sense of accomplishment. She went on Joe Rogan and was like, oh, I could be a stand-up comedian tonight. Like, could someone put me on a mic? It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is how you got here because nobody stops someone with a strong opinion from being a political commentator, right?
Sure, right.
Like there isn't the same, like you learn the routines, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Oh God, I fucking hate her so much. And not to mention, I mean, sorry, we're not moving past. If I see a black pilot, I'm gonna think, is he qualified? Why?
Yeah, why?
Last time I checked, there wasn't any sort of like limitation in terms of who makes it into flight school.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
And if anything, if people were as racist as like you're acting, it would be an impediment. And he's an even more qualified pilot. I watched this movie that it's not worth talking about on our movie reviews on Friday, called Plane, starring Gerard Butler. He's Scottish in this. I always thought he was Australian. No, he's always been Scottish. And he's a pilot, and he like lands the plane, and then the plane takes off, and he lands the plane again. And it's really cool because it's just like a plane crash, but he lands it. And it made me not as afraid of flying because I was like, oh, that's right. These people are like really good at keeping the plane in the air.
They're pretty good at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Turbulence isn't going to make the pilot be like, oh, no.
It turns out they have a lot of experience to get that job.
Yeah, exactly.
As it turns out.
Like terrain, pull up. That's what I imagine is going on in the cockpit like all day. Like, oh, I don't have a window seat. It's terrain, pull up. All right. This is a good clip. This is no way this was on Fox.
I would rather have a president who maybe has a stutter once in a while than one who spews conspiracy theory, racist nonsense, and has dinner with Nazis. So if given the choice between one or the other, I'm happy that Joe Biden might misspeak once in a while when he...
Did you hear the host go, yeah,
I did.
I think we have a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is this happening on our air? No, come on.
Yeah, sorry. We need to go to a quick commercial break.
Commercial break, yes.
Brought to you by Lemonade Hamas.
Lemonade Hamas.
Can we do best of the left?
Let's do it.
All right. So Kamala Harris made a big splash over the weekend, and Monday morning, all the media outlets that like to help out the Democratic Party really did everything they could to like promote this. And then I feel like everybody heard the audio they shared, and they heard like the second sentence, and they're like, oh, so nothing's new. Fantastic. This was a huge headline.
And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire.
That's why I love that. Like, I hate to be so literal with my complaint. Did you hear the people go, yeah? Like,
they did.
Who hears news that you're like, this is wow, like we need that, and goes, yay. Like I read the word when I say it, I'm supposed to say yay. Like, no, you go, wow, yeah, wow, like a normal human being. Anyways, it's not the point to harp on. So that's the headline, right? I call my Vice President Harris call for an immediate ceasefire.
Immediate ceasefire.
For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table.
It's just cascading. It's just like, I call for a ceasefire now for at least 6 weeks. And that's what we've already been asking for. So nothing at all is different. You witnessed nothing historically.
And you hear the person in the crowd just screaming madly.
Yeah. Oh, like Snickers Viking, but that. Yeah. Oh. You know what? Somewhere in time, I did find a Snickers Viking. Can I just look for it briefly? I promise not to take too much time. Okay. Snickers. Oh, I got both of them.
Nice.
Okay, one. And then hold on, let me do this, and then I can play them back to back for us. I love the Snickers Viking. I wish that campaign was still around.
That was fun.
That was one where he was like, "You could do this every commercial break. I don't mind." Wait.
No!
That should be right next to Nikki Haley. Let me just move that right there. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, listeners, this is for us too. Okay.
We're having fun over here. You know.
Did you see AOC getting harassed outside of the AMC?
I did see that. Yeah.
So I thought it's at Alamo Draft House in the background. That's not important. So some rogue journalists confronted AOC outside of
her boyfriend. She could do way better.
That guy looks like he dragged her to see Dune.
It does.
Hey, wait a second, that's me. Love you. God damn it. I did say that because we got there early, so we walked around the mall for a little bit. I was like, look at all these fucking nerds that took their wife to go see. Oh, fuck.
Oh, it's me.
Hi. I was like, yeah, but we're hot, so like it's cool.
There you go. Yeah.
Not the same.
You refuse to call it a genocide in front of everybody.
I need you to understand that this is not okay.
It's not okay that there's a genocide happening. You're not actively against it.
You're lying.
I'm lying.
You're not.
You went on TV and avoided talking about it.
For what? Because now you can't say it's a genocide.
What happened to just saying no comment?
Yeah, you could always do that, right?
Why don't you tell us how we're lying?
You can't call it. You can't call it a genocide. We're not lying.
Just doing that up close, hushed yelling thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not lying.
You've been saying it in interviews. It's insane. You haven't been calling it a genocide.
Do you have any comments?
You're going to cut it, and you're going to cut this, and you're going to clip this so that it's completely out of context. I already said that it was, and y'all are just going to pretend that it wasn't over and over again. It's up, man.
Well, this is some New Yorker use y'all.
You're not helping these people, and you're not helping them.
You refuse to.
You're not helping them.
What the fuck just happened?
So yeah, I think she's right. The guy's not helping them. I don't know. The genocide thing.
He's supposed to. I mean, you're talking about the press, right? I mean, they
Right.
might be, paparazzi, but I mean, you are talking about the press. Like, are they all of a sudden we want them to have an agenda?
Well, whoever this person was, that wasn't just like a New York Times reporter. That was somebody.
No,
with
it
an
was.
agenda.
This was the New York Post. Somebody probably submitted it to them, right?
Probably
Just
somebody
for all,
submitted it. Yeah, yeah.
Nightcrawler guys, right?
Right. That sounded like an activist to me, not a journalist.
One man's activist is another man's journalist. Alan.
I mean, sure.
You want to talk about
if they worked for The Intercept, probably.
Yeah,
it would sound like that.
Sometimes one and the same. Yes. Do you want to talk about your governor?
Oh, sure. Let's.
What do you have to say for yourself, Gavin? These Panera Breads, when they mandated $20 per hour, we're like, yeah, it does have an exception for like fast food and bakeries or fast food bakeries. And we're like, okay. We're like, oh, that's clearly Panera Bread. It was like, well, that's weird, but I guess I get it. Those people have to work over. Wait, hold on. Why do they get to still be poor? Then I kind of dismissed it because of that. Paul shared it in the group chat. I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. They said bakeries are excluded. It's like, you don't understand.
There were some discussions around bakeries and this and that, but in relationship to this story, it's absurd. Period.
You said it absurd, but when somebody brought that to your attention earlier.
There's a provision in this bill that exempts bakeries, carving out essentially Panera and Boudin.
I mean, that's part of the sausage making. That was part of 257, the original bill, and we went back and forth, and there was part of the negotiation. It's the nature of negotiation.
Well, it's part of the sausage making. It's
like Bruce Wayne there, right?
A little bit, yes.
A coincidence that this new minimum wage law did not impact a campaign contributor of yours.
It does impact.
Oh, what? Oh, and he says it does. Oh, weird. I mean, case closed, right? Like, it sounds pretty transparent.
Totally.
What's his problem with restaurants, man? Like, he got caught at the French
Laundry.
Yeah, laundry.
Yeah.
French
I don't know. He definitely had multiple bad decisions made during the pandemic as governor, including the French Laundry one, which he will never live down, I don't think.
Alan, dropping understatements on the show. Okay, so you've shared. What do you think of Bill Maher?
I think Bill Maher is what the left thought a cool guy looked like in the 90s, and he's never really outgrown that. He likes to say things that he thinks are controversial or
Like
edgy.
Bill Clinton was the first black president. He
Right.
started that, right?
Right. I think he's pretty arrogant and full of himself. So I do think he can still be funny at times, and I
He's
think
not
he
like
can
women.
say, yeah, he can say insightful things occasionally, but also a lot of times she's just, poking and stroking, let's be honest.
I was like fully in my I'm a misogynist character, and you said that I just lost it. So I feel like the left, especially the progressives, have really turned on him.
Mhm.
Especially the progressives.
Right.
You've sent me a clip of his. Did you send me that clip? So did half our listeners, of Bob Costas.
Oh yeah.
Basically saying the same thing as Recline said, like, hey, he's too old. We should, like, before it's too late, get rid of him.
Eject while we can.
Yeah. Kind of discounting the fact that I don't know if you still can at this phase.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really possible.
I trimmed this down from 4 minutes to about 1:17.
Okay.
Turns out he takes a lot of tangents. I don't know anybody like that. Should I just hit play? This is his take on what Biden's approach should be.
Okay.
I think that given how much the left gives him shit, I think he's making a good point here that the left could like champion.
They need to find a way to make the Biden age issue work for them. Because you know what's really getting old about Joe Biden? Complaining about his age. But when did we start insisting that our presidents be smart? Like these assholes? Instead of trying to refute all the too old to be president slams, Joe must embrace them. Stop with the I'm sharper than ever. Nobody's buying that. Don't try to deny the age thing. Lean into it. Because Joe's problem is not a new one for Democrats. Not the age thing specifically, but the idea of letting the opposition intimidate you into being defensive about who you really are. John Kerry pretending to be a duck hunter.
Remember that? Remember, everybody's like, he didn't shoot any ducks. They were like critical of him doing it.
Right.
Don't you remember that whole stunt?
He also didn't shoot like his a fellow hunter in the face. So there's that.
Not vice presidential.
Right.
Not very vice presidential.
Hillary carrying hot sauce in her purse.
Oh, yeah.
Be yourself. And Joe, yourself is old. That's who you are.
Embrace it.
You're so old, your bad kid with a drug problem is 54. Take a page from your old pal John McCain, who ran for president as a senior citizen and said,
I'm older than dirt. I have more scars than Frankenstein, but I've learned a few things along the way.
Exactly. Own it.
Like, how is that not good advice?
I think it is good advice.
But you don't hear that when you're like, I'm not watching Bill Maher anymore.
Right.
Like, don't watch him for Alan's reason. He's a smug, arrogant asshole.
Right.
And he's not that palatable. Like, I don't care to watch him.
Yeah. I think that the Biden campaign has attempted to do some of that. Just sort of embrace the whole thing. And we'll probably see more of it in the next few months. But whether it's enough or not, hard to say at this point.
Yeah, good point. Guess what time it is, Alan?
Oh.
It's another battle in the culture wars. Oh, not the culture wars. They're worried about a culture war. Culture wars. Stop with the culture wars.
I acted them all out. Oh, you can see it.
Thanks, Thrash.
Thanks, Thrash. Let's start one off. This is a quick hitter. This is a guy at a city council meeting.
Okay.
Good evening, cowards. Nice to see you.
Sorry. This is how you make an entrance.
Good evening, cowards. Nice to see you. A bunch of fat, ugly women.
God.
What? What? No. I'm speaking. They're fat, ugly women is what they are. Let's talk about it. You don't have to. Bye. It's called free speech. Bye.
Wow. That's how you win over a room right there.
Yeah,
That's
that was
clearly...
almost the show opener, but I was like, let's make fun of the French.
Where the hell was that?
I don't know.
That's gotta be like, yeah, that sounds right.
Florida.
It's gotta be, yeah.
A bunch of fat, ugly women. Speaking of which, we got Moms for Liberty on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Did you notice my speaking of which, Alan? The last one. You get it.
We love teachers. My children have had the best teachers. I've had the greatest teachers that have influenced and impacted me. But there are rogue teachers in America's classrooms right now.
Rogue teachers.
Rogue teachers.
Parents send their children to school to be educated, not indoctrinated into ideology.
That is such a fucking line. So it's like they've got a tag team there. She's like, I'm answering the question. And she's like, oh, well, I've got a line for that. Hold on. Parents send their teachers not indoctrinated.
Not indoctrination, education.
What ideology are they being indoctrinated into?
CRT, of course.
CRT, yes. Scott Pelley is like a caricature of a human, right?
He kind of is.
Like they need to make like action figures of Scott Pelley.
I would buy one.
A bobblehead.
It
right?
would be on my desk right here.
I should get a Scott Pelley bobblehead.
Let's just say.
So wait, he asked in which ways they're indoctrinating.
Right.
And so the original person's talking, but the coach is right there.
Children in America cannot read.
They often dodged questions with talking points. You're being evasive.
21%
What
of Hispanic
ideology?
students are reading
You're
on grade
being
level.
evasive. What ideology are the children being?
I wonder what percentage of Hispanic students are first generation also, right? Like if you're going to talk about people that aren't living up to the expected reading level at that age, like you're picking a demographic, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I don't even want, like, I don't know. Am I racist for saying it that way?
No, I think I understand what you're saying.
I framed that in a good way. I'm good.
Yeah, I think
I'm fine. You're not going to not get your job, Alan.
Indoctrinated into? What is your fear?
I think parents' fears are realized. They're looking at these books where sexual discussions are happening with their children at younger and younger ages.
Tiffany Justice read from sexually explicit books written for older teens, but found in a few lower schools. Most people wouldn't want them in a lower school. But in a tactic of outrage politics, Moms for Liberty takes a kernel of truth and concludes these examples are not rare mistakes, but a plot to sexualize children.
The media that at least still has like editors and like requirements to live up to journalistic standards. And I hate praising the media because they so often don't live up to their standards. But the institutions like 60 Minutes, who disappoints us still a lot, I'm sure. But as long as they have that structure, they have learned to adapt the statements, the way to counteract these like culture war narratives from hijacking their interviews. They used to kind of present that and be like, oh, well, I'll show you with a clever question. And now they're just like, look, they're going to rant and gish gallop us. And this is a known tactic. And I'm explaining that. And also most people agree that that's a bad thing. And when addressed, those things are taken away. Like, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so the thing that she wouldn't say that in that clip was the indoctrination that she's worried about is that they're going to teach your children about the history of America accurately, and that and then she's going to spin that and say that they're teaching your children to be ashamed of their skin color and things like that. They're teaching your kids to be trans or gay or whatever the thing might be that they're afraid of this current boogie monster.
Turns the frickin' birds gay.
But I mean, that is what she's saying without saying it there. And that's, she won't do it in this platform because she knows he'll pick that argument apart. But she'll do it on her little podcast, I'm sure. If she has one. So yeah.
Because
I'm a cunt.
Yes.
Your critics say that you have an anti-gay ideology.
That is false. That is false.
Nothing could be further from the
Nothing could be further from the
truth. We have gay members. I think it's an effort to really try to
Some of my best
marginalize
friends
us as
are
an
gay. What are you
organization.
talking about?
Okay, are we done?
Yeah, I think we're done.
What? I had black friends growing up? No. I got I've got two clips about Hunter Biden's hearing, but I don't feel like that was if the show wasn't this long.
Okay.
Halfway through the hearing, Hunter Biden did that hearing that they tried to avoid, that they tried to dodge because he wanted it to be filmed because he was afraid of what a closed door hearing would do.
Right.
And he agreed to it eventually anyways. And halfway through, Democrats made a statement. And because of that, Nancy Mace made a statement, and she was like, "Well, the left did this, so I'm going to do this too." And it was just, I don't know, at the end of the day, the transcripts came out from it. There was nothing outlandish that came from it. And
Nothing at all.
The right says it's because he had a chance to practice. It's like, right,
sure.
which nobody ever does. Good point.
And nobody preps for going in front of Congress.
Why would anybody do that?
Why would you do that? That'd be weird.
This Riverside sheriff is pretty timeless. There was a clip of a Riverside sheriff just being like, California has single-handedly dismantled the rule of law, shit like that. You know how that goes.
Okay.
Where am I, Alan? I'm supposed to go here with it.
You were going to paste that, I think, to the next sheet?
Yes,
or for
but
later?
I got lost.
Okay. I have the cursor where we're at.
Oh, good, Alan. Well, I want it pasted.
DEI bill.
No, I'm not. No. What happened here? Control Z.
Control you put it back.
I know because it wasn't there when I went to the other page. I got my. Why is my Control V not working? Here, paste. There, I had to use the mouse. Right click like it's 1994. DEI bills dies in the House Senate. Is that where we are?
Yes.
DEI bills dies in the Tennessee House. Or maybe it's no, man. That's AOC.
That's AOC. Yeah.
Yeah, with her weird boyfriend. Okay. Well, we're not doing that. Hey, is this your man's, Alan? This is Sean Fain.
Oh, the head of the auto workers union,
PLA or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're mild-mannered, you're professional, you have glasses on, nice guy, but you also rail against the billionaire class, and you wear T-shirts at times that say, "Eat the rich."
I don't think billionaires should exist. No one needs that much money. I think it's inhumane. Pick any city, walk around, you see people starving, people without basic necessities. There's no excuse for that. And it's not because people are lazy or don't want to work.
I don't think this is surprising coming from a union.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay. It goes a little bit further, though.
The billionaires that keep amassing more and more wealth so they can build rocket ships and do whatever the hell they want to do, that does nothing for humanity.
Your critics say that's class warfare.
Yeah, class warfare has been going on in this country for the last 40 years. The billionaire class has been taking everything and leaving the working class with nothing.
So you welcome it. You want the war.
It's always, whenever working class people ever step up and say, this is wrong, we want it to stop, all of a sudden, oh, it's class warfare, it's the end of the world.
Is there like an allergic reaction by conservatives to that instinctively assumes this man's a Marxist?
Not being part of that movement, I can only say what I could see, and I would say yes, there is. I found it strange the way he started that by saying, "Oh, you're a nice guy. You wear glasses." Like, how is that relevant to?
You're like a
anything at all?
raging pussy,
right? What the fuck, dude?
You want to fight?
I mean, is this 1954 or what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that the guy that tried to get into a fight in Congress? That was the Teamsters.
Oh, the Teamsters guy. Yeah.
That was wild. Do you think that guy wants to be president?
Oh,
he seems awfully ambitious.
Huh.
He sounded like Trump when he couldn't say Venezuela.
I mean, he's definitely has some name recognition nationally, I would say. So if he does have that ambition, I'm sure it's something he could pursue. I haven't seen anything where he said anything about that, so I don't.
I feel like we're living in that time in like Roman history. Sorry.
Here we go. There should be a rule for that, like a
sound, like whenever it happens, I have to address it.
Like Godwin's entered the chat, but for Rome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there
should be. Yeah. We should call it none taken's law.
Hadrian's law.
Hadrian's law.
Yeah.
Might want to look that one up. Might be
that wall.
Yeah. That's just wall backwards. It kind of works. Hadrian's law. I think it's unfortunate we didn't get to plug our podcast in it though. This guy Godwin gets away with it.
I know.
Eternity.
Agreed.
Can I play this fucking clip I have about Miami spring break?
Yeah, wait, were you gonna explain the Rome thing or no?
Oh yeah. Well, Dune was influenced by Asimov and the Foundation series, and that was kind of influenced by like a critique of Rome. It all goes back to like Gibbon's like Decline of the Republic. So like all these years and all these hours and all these millions and millions of fans over like since Dune was written in the 60s or whatever.
Right.
Maybe earlier, honestly. It was very early sci-fi. Yeah, all just because of men's obsession with Rome. It all goes back to Rome. I don't know.
Always
Something
goes
about
back
the
to
last thing was about Rome, but I don't remember. Oh, is that your man's wants to be president? Oh, I feel like
Strokin.
we're living in that period, like post the Grokky, as like the like where you get to watch the new generation of politicians come in and watch that segment of the history book as those political rivals take the country to civil war and tear it apart and the republic into an empire.
I hope
It
you're
is.
wrong about
I mean,
that.
if nations have a phase, the phase isn't Joe Biden turns us into a bunch of transgenders. It's that a fascist comes along and promises to have all the answers, and the only person that can lead it is him. Like it's written down. Like we understand this stuff, and the people that love that the most, oftentimes, are the ones that are like, "But I like him because he's strong, and we need that." It's like, did you read this? Like, how did we come to the same conclusions, Matt from Kitbag?
Hey, we need to talk. This isn't working anymore.
And it's not us. It's you. We just want different things.
All right, you have a good
This is about Miami. I'm sorry. It did sound like I just started shit with Kitbag. I didn't really understand that. He's a Trump guy, and I don't understand it because we have the same, like all those histories books back there are Will Durant, and we talked about those books on the show. Yeah. Anyway, did you hear everything that happened in this clip already? This is a clip from Miami saying spring breakers should stay away.
Oh,
time is relaxing on the beach, hitting up the spa, or checking out a new restaurant. You just want to get drunk in public and ignore laws. Do you even remember what happened last March?
That was our breaking point, so we're breaking up with you.
And don't try to apologize and come crawling back. This isn't safe, so we're done. And just so you know, we're serious.
This March, you can expect things like curfews, bag checks, and
A raging overreach of the state.
restricted beach access.
DUI checkpoints, $100 parking, and strong police enforcement for drug possession and violence. Whatever it takes, because it's time to move on. Maybe we can talk when you're done with your spring break phase, but until then.
What does that even mean? How are they saying like no future generations? What do you think is going to happen when these 24-year-olds or 22-year-olds stop being 22?
Right.
Sorry, let me say, what happens? Do you think people won't be 18 to 22 again?
There's a cycle. It happens again. It's also, that's been your brand for like decades.
Yeah,
I mean,
moves to wildly popular tourist destination, gets upset when tourists show up, like lives near airport, complains about planes. There's a lady here in East Nashville that moved next to like a historic butcher shop and was like, smells like dead meat.
What'd you expect?
It's literally a slaughterhouse. Like, it's fantastic that we get such fresh meat there. Like, maybe not a slaughterhouse, but
yeah,
butchery, whatever. It's funny.
They
Also,
had a
I'm sure
show
your
on
$100
MTV
parking
about it.
tickets don't go away, right? Or $100 parking doesn't go away. The state's not going to be like, turns out when it's a high demand, people will pay $100 to park here still. They're not going to learn that lesson and just forget it.
No.
And now you live there, you smug piece of shit. So, like, I don't care that much. I almost opened the show with this, but I thought it was too much for us to talk about. Unless we start doing show opens that we play the beginning of and the rest of after we do our intro. That could be
Okay. Well, we could do that. Yeah.
Stop doing a comedy clip if we do it that way, though. But that's too much like Tom Segura's show.
Oh, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, no, we are not the same show.
We're not. No. Not the same.
Not at all, even. Where are we? Here? I have this guy open on the screen. Oh,
yeah, Kroger.
Alan, do you remember when you stayed out here in Nashville? I was like, oh, you're next to the murder Kroger.
It's time once again for What the F Is That? The show where one California native learns about the wild world of Nashville, Tennessee by asking the internet, what the F is that? I went to the grocery store the other day and my friend said, oh, you went to the murder Kroger? And his wife said, oh, I call it dirty Kroger. And I'm like, okay, you got to tell me more about this. So he tells me.
No, wait, I'm sorry. I live here. That's the second closest Kroger to me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody calls it the dirty Kroger. I've never even heard that before.
The Kroger that I went to is affectionately.
It's the murder Kroger because they have the little police thing where they have like the blue light and the camera on the little like trailer they drop off overnight.
Right.
You've seen those. They're always in the best neighborhoods. or where like shops have their catalytic converters stolen, right?
Yes.
Called Murder Kroger because somebody was murdered there. So I started asking around and it turns out Murder Kroger is a real deal. Except here's the thing. nobody can agree on exactly which Kroger it is. Is it in South? Is it West? Is it Melrose? All of them seem to be.
What? No. No, this guy is in fact a new Californian to Nashville, and he filmed this before he got his answer straight. It is very clearly the one.
There's a specific Kroger that is.
Yes, it's across the street, close to Sid Gold's, which says nothing bad about Sid Gold's. You should always visit Sid Gold's when you're in East Nashville.
To be the murder Kroger. So help me out, Nashville. Is there a particular Kroger that I am more likely to be murdered at? Is this just a campaign waged by Trader Joe's to keep people away?
This is now it's becoming slanderous.
Deep state Trader Joe's out here.
Yes, like the wackadoo. Oh, I didn't realize.
It's a great conspiracy theory.
I didn't vet that clip. Are we at the end of the show?
I think we are.
Yeah. I guess it's time for a question.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to be a little vulnerable here.
Oh, okay.
But I'm okay. I'm comfortable with saying this. I'm comfortable admitting this. And I'm fine if there's some stigma about it. I think it's time that people say things like this more openly without concern for being judged.
Okay.
Maybe you agree. You don't know unless you ask, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Am I the only one that feels like Ray Finkel was pretty hot post-op? She was good looking, right? Like you were jealous of Tone Loc when
I mean, it wasn't bad.
It probably was the gun digging into the hip, honestly.
Oh, probably. That's probably what it was. Probably.
Okay. You know what? Okay. I feel good with that.
That was fun.
Oh, that was fun. All right, man. Drive safe.
Cheers, man. That flew by.
Whoa, that was a long show.
I know. We're over 3 hours. I'm like, we could do 6.
I do not plan to. I'm going to turn this off. I don't plan to do very much editing at all. Like,
oh, no.
Yeah, I just that
maybe
one
the
point,
part.
I have it. I have a timestamp for it.
Yeah.
I'll keep the part where you don't understand my rolling.
Where you're joking.
Joke. Yes.
Okay.
That's because I'm petty. I'm gonna stop recording.
All right, man. That was fun.